Here we go. It is time, finally. NFL draft time. Round one is set to begin. And we are here with you because it is time to react to all craziness that's going to happen. Because everything that you think and that you've heard is going to happen, it's not going to happen. Not exactly that way. I feel pretty good about some of my picks and some of my predictions, but pretty bad about the rest. But it is round one of the NFL draft. Glad you guys are with us. This is the end game, fantasy end game. And this is an annual tradition. Chris, how many years have we done this now? Live streaming, live reaction to the NFL draft. I can't remember.
Well, it's been a while because we were doing this before we even had Endgame. Back with Rotoballer, we used to do this, didn't we? So I don't know, 10 years? Are we at 10 years now?
And I wouldn't be surprised actually getting there. But it's now to the point where I can't imagine not doing this.
Right.
I can just sit and watch the draft. You gotta have you guys with us here reacting, and we gotta break it all down, what it means. So hey, hang out with us. You know, if you're here, just you got two screens going. I'm sure you do that all the time, right? You can't just have one screen. Get NFL draft up, and we're gonna be here to tell you what exactly it means, and let's hope that we have a lot of offensive players taken. What do you think? How many running backs? How many receivers?
Okay. So I actually did this Monday every day prior to today. I asked the question on our YouTube community: how many running backs going to go in the first round? How many wide receivers? How many QBs? I did it separate days. It seems like the consensus is about 2 to 3 of each position. I think we're going to see 3 QBs. I don't think we're going to see any tight ends. Maybe one. I think people are going to be a little surprised. I think people are going to be a little surprised by the tight ends.
Wow.
I think we're going to see 3 running backs, 5 wide receivers.
Interesting. All right. I got it a little different, but I almost, and I broke down. I wasn't going to. I even said I wasn't going to. I was like, I'm not going to do one of those mock competitions, one of those things, where you put in your draft, and then 24 hours before the draft, I was like, okay, I got to do it. Well, I wasn't even going to do it. I didn't do it just for fun, but they put on Fantasy Pros. They put the thing like, hey, you can put your prediction, your ranking. I was like, okay, fine, I'll do it. And I wound up doing all 3 rounds, the first 3 rounds. So we'll see. I almost only had one running back going in the first round. Like Genty, of course. I almost thought they're just going to wait, right? All these teams, there's so many running backs. They're going to wait. Running backs don't go in the first round anymore. Like maybe Ashton Genty, because he's one of those like generational backs. But I was like, why does every other team feel like they're going to take a running back when they don't have to? But then I said, you know what? I'll put Hampton in there. Maybe Denver does go running back. So I got the Broncos taking Omari and Hampton, and we'll see if that comes true. But
all right, we'll see. I have a question. Why are there people riding bikes onto the stage at the NFL draft? What has the NFL draft become? Remember? Actually, it's funny. I was talking to messaging Tristram about this the other night. You know Tristram. I remember growing up, even in my high school years, nobody cared about the NFL draft.
No,
it was like nothing, right? It was like nobody cared. Now it's like the Super Bowl, right? Who are these people riding? I have this thing muted. Who are these people riding bikes? Is that Lil Wayne? Did Lil Wayne ride a bike onto this? Why does Lil Wayne ride a bike onto the stage? What is going on?
We have inside information, or maybe just something we were ignorant of. Is that true?
Actually, that's true, because I do remember a thumbnail I made where AJ Dillon was riding this little tricycle. I thought was hilarious because it was like he was a waiver wire pickup and he's riding this tricycle, this big old quads. But I thought they rode tricycles. But is that really why they're doing it? Come on.
Well, I don't know, but I would guess it has something to do with Green Bay, since like paying homage to the site. So who knows? All right. Bikes to practice. Sure, why not? And I don't know, sorry. I was going to put Brian's other comment up. Don't need 2 screens, just one. Love you, Brian. Yeah, that would be that, you know what? We're going to tell you who gets picked anyway. So, yeah, you don't need to see all that, the circus on your other screen. Why bother?
Oh, I know. Wait. Is Hero? I think I know who Hero Dog is. What's up? What's up, Steven? Steven here for the draft. What's going on?
Hero Dog, huh? All right.
That's his. Yeah, Hero. And he does own 2 shares of the Packers stock. So if anybody knows, he is a shareholder.
Oh, that's right. The shareholders, that whole thing. Look, we got Anwar back in the house. He says he joined the military. Wow.
All right. How's that going? Welcome back.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad you're able to squeeze out some time to put your priorities here in the NFL draft. No. Anyways, good to have you back. And all right. So here, Dog wants to know, what are the Packers doing? Are they going wide receiver?
I don't think so. I mean, unless somebody falls, but I think they got to address defense more than anything. So I think, yeah. I mean, will they go wide receiver at some point? Probably, maybe tomorrow. But I don't think we see wide receiver to the Packers tonight. What pick do they have? They got 23. I mean, again, if somebody's there and they can't pass on them, maybe, but I don't feel like that's their number one priority.
I don't think so. It's one of those things. Everybody always wants them to draft a receiver, especially the fans, but
right,
it's not their thing. It's not their thing. Well, I think they got a bigger need. I keep saying corner. I had them taking a corner.
Yeah.
I think the probably the biggest thing we're going to track early in the draft, early meaning the first couple of picks, is, does one of those teams trade up to number 2? I mean, number 1, it's all said and done, which, by the way, okay, so I haven't pulled it up here, Chris. Are the Titans officially on the clock right now?
No, nobody's on the clock yet because, they got to drag this. They got to drag this. It's like the Super Bowl, right? It's like Super Bowl starts at 5 o'clock, but it doesn't kick off till 6:15 or whatever it is. So, no, still not on the clock. Nobody's on the clock yet. Oh, all right. They are officially on the clock. Yeah, no, Titans. I did see something. I don't know if it's true, but I saw a report that the Giants tried to trade up with the Titans, but the Titans said no. So
to number 1. Wow.
It still would not shock me. Still, I know it would shock a lot of people, but it would not shock me if Shedeur goes to the Giants at 3. Assuming it goes Cam Ward 1, Travis Hunter 2, which is kind of what it sounds like. Yeah.
So let's okay, so they are officially on the clock. So let's start with this. Let's go in order. Let's start with number 1. It's going to be Cam Ward. Like they canceled their other visits after Cam Ward. After they saw Cam Ward and met him in person, they're like, okay, that's it. That's the guy. Rightfully so, because, I mean, from one of the best universities for football, obviously for NFL caliber players. Again, I can say that now after like 20 years of futility. But look, Cam Ward is going to be him. So the Titans are going to take Cam Ward, franchise quarterback. And then after that, it's like, okay, who knows? Number 2, probably, I would guess, Travis Hunter. But is it going to be Cleveland? Is it going to be another team? What do you think about Jacksonville? Do you actually think Jacksonville is crazy enough to trade up from the 5 spot just to get Hunter or whoever at number 2? Do you buy that?
I mean, I buy almost anything when it comes to the NFL draft. So if they feel like he's going to make the difference for them, why not? I mean, why not? I like you said, we've been doing these drafts long enough, covering the first rounds. There's always at least 2 to 3 shockers, whether it's a trade, whether it's a pick. There's always at least like 2 to 3 shocking moments during these things where you're like, what? Didn't see that coming. So why not? I think the only non-shocking thing is going to be Cam Ward at 1.
Yeah. That would truly be shocking if for some reason they don't pick him, but they're going to pick him, I'm sure. But yeah, Anwar feels like you're right. Like everything's up for grabs.
Yep.
Although here's my thinking. usually when we see a lot of trades and especially teams trade up, it's to get a quarterback, right? Because that's just so important. And there's so many teams that still need a quarterback. But there really aren't quarterbacks worth trading up for in this draft because Ward's gone at number 1, and apparently half the league is out or hates Shooter Sanders. Is there a team that's willing to trade up for just to get Sanders when maybe they don't even need to? You know what I mean? Like if there's teams that aren't sold on him, do you really want to trade up for a guy that? And then are there any of the quarterbacks that even really honestly deserve to be first round picks? So I kind of feel like we're not going to see that many trades tonight, but I could be wrong on that.
Yeah, we may. I mean, but remember, like we may see trades to get edge rushers, DBs, stuff like that. I know we want every trade to be for like, the next, Ted McMillan, or which, by the way, I guess his name Ted is not one of his names. It's either T-Mac or something else, but not Ted. Apparently, we can't call him Ted.
Okay.
But like we want like every time somebody trades up, like, oh, they're gonna go running back, oh, they're gonna take whoever, right? But it's like, oh, maybe they just want like the best corner that's still on the board, or maybe they just want that edge rusher who's fallen, way below where everybody thought he would. Like, I know we want it to all be offensive skill players, but unfortunately, these teams are trying to, flush out teams and they need other players. So,
oh yeah. Well, I feel like, this seems obvious because they're the top 2 players on everybody's board, aside from Cam Ward, who's already going to be taken, is, you trade up to get a guy who could be a generational pass rusher like Abdul Carter or a Travis Hunter, who's, kind of that unicorn. He can play both ways. So it makes sense. Number 2 could be in play. And, it actually does make sense for Cleveland to trade down because, when they have those things like team needs and they list the positions, and for Cleveland, the team needs, it's basically everything, like every position. Maybe it makes sense for them to grab more draft capital as opposed to just that one player. So
here's an interesting thing. Per Adam Schefter 2 minutes ago, the Giants offered this year's first, which is the number 3 pick, next year's first, and multiple other picks in exchange for the number 1 pick this year. And the Titans said no to that. So,
wow.
And then, according to Mary Kay Cabot, who I follow, one of the Browns beat writers that I follow, she is saying just 2 minutes ago, the Browns are in heated talks to trade down from 2 with the Jaguars at 5. So maybe it is going to happen.
I got to think if that happens at number 2, it's to get Hunter, I would think.
It's got to get Hunter. And the first pick is officially in. And yes, it is Cam Ward to the Titans. No shock there.
We are back, baby, even though he's gone. But having a number 1 overall pick, the Canes are back, baby.
So how do we feel? Okay, so with your Canes bias aside, obviously.
Okay, it's not possible. Not possible.
Now we got to look forward, right? Because it's like, okay, college is over. He's a Titan now. How do we feel about Cam Ward on the Tennessee Titans?
In fantasy and in both in reality, in real life, look, I'm just objectively speaking. I know I watched a lot of Cam Ward because I watched almost every single Hurricanes game this year. The reason why I think he's going to succeed and the reason why the Titans are so convinced, just think about that. They could have had the number 3 overall pick. They could have had next year's first round. They could have had all of this, and they said no. That's how much they believed in Cam Ward. That tells you something. I think the thing that really separates him, what makes him an NFL caliber quarterback and potential star, is he's got the leadership, he's got the knowledge, he's got all those intangibles. Arm strength, whatever. Jeff George had amazing arm strength. He wound up being a terrible quarterback. He is a guy who knows how to lead. You saw what he did. Took a team that was mediocre the year before and made it almost a championship caliber team. There's always been talent there, but 1 year turning a team around like that, making himself, a Heisman candidate and making himself the number 1 overall pick, that's what gets you going, because there's plenty of guys who can run and have mobility, right? There's plenty of guys who can throw the ball really far, but he has it. You know, I just think he does.
Yeah, I agree. But before I get into that, I want to put this out. We did have a trade. It's official. Browns have traded the number 2 overall pick, their number 104 pick, and their number 200 pick to the Jaguars. The Jaguars trading the number 5 pick. So basically, Browns moving down to 5, Jaguars up to 2. But the Jaguars also sending their 2nd round pick, number 36, and a 4th round pick, number 126, and their 2026 first round pick. So you got to think Jaguars are going Travis Hunter here, right?
Wow. So they did it. They pulled the trigger. I'm looking right now. So Cleveland moved down. Jacksonville has the 2. So there's no smoke there.
Wow. Yeah, no smoke there. They did it. And now this makes me a little nervous for Hunter, because I was actually excited to see Travis Hunter in Cleveland, because the Browns had been talking about the fact that they viewed Hunter as an every down wide receiver.
As a wide receiver, yeah.
I have not heard anything about how the Jaguars are going to view Travis Hunter, and that's always been the big question mark, right? The question mark with Travis Hunter isn't, does he have the talent? He certainly has the talent. There's no question there. I think if Travis Hunter only played wide receiver, he would be clear head and shoulders the number 1 wide receiver in this class. But now he's going to Jacksonville, who has Brian Thomas Jr. Is their vision for Travis Hunter that he's a full-time wide receiver, or that he's a full-time corner who will sometimes play wide receiver? This is going to be tricky now. We're going to have to definitely listen to what Liam Cohen says, I guess, in the press, whatever you call it, after the draft here.
Yeah.
Press conference.
Well, I honestly wonder. I mean, it almost makes me think Cleveland didn't necessarily ever intend to take Hunter. You know what I mean? Because I don't think you say, well, we're going to put you at receiver. I mean, you know he wants to play both ways, and you know his skill set should be best used as a corner. So maybe this was their plan all along to trade down. And I think it's smart. You know what I mean? I think it's smart. They're not one player away, and that player is not a quarterback anyways. You know what I mean? It's very rare that any one player who isn't a quarterback takes a non-playoff team and makes it a playoff team. So I think it's smart by Cleveland. They're still getting plenty in return. But I don't think this changes my opinion about Hunter anyways for fantasy, because again, I don't think he should be out there every down on offense. You know, I think he's a guy who will have some upside, but not someone who probably should be a weekly starter, for fantasy.
Yeah, it's definitely. I would have liked him on the Browns, because I think they would have given him the opportunity. The Jags, it's going to be interesting to see, but while we wait for them to make that pick official, going back to Cam Ward, yeah, I agree with you, everything you said about Cam Ward. My only worries, because I do see, I don't want to say he's like the next Jaden Daniels, because Jaden Daniels was so good. And I think the biggest difference between him and Jaden Daniels is Jaden Daniels actually, I will say that my one worry for Cam Ward is this is a dude who could have 20 plus interceptions year one. Because he is not afraid to just throw it, right? Open or not, I'm just going to chuck it to you, and we're going to see what happens. Whereas Jaden Daniels had one of the I think he had the lowest turnover-worthy plays in the entire NFL last year. But he's got that upside. He's got that rushing ability. He's got the arm talent. We're going to find out, I guess, if Brian Callahan really is this kind of QB whisperer kind of guy, if he can really do it here. But also, who does he have? He has 30-year-old Calvin Ridley, who really only looked good for 1 year of his entire career. Traylon Burks, Chigo Conco. I mean, maybe they draft a wide receiver with one of their other picks and it helps, but I think he's certainly going to have his moments this year, but I don't know if he's going to be like an every week starting caliber QB like we saw with Jaden Daniels. And even Bo Nix to some degree down the stretch last year was a guy that, you could almost start on any given week. But I do think long term, he's got the potential to be a star.
Yeah, he's going to need some help. I mean, clearly they need to do something. And I don't know at what point in this draft they do attack receiver, they've got to, though, right? I mean, they've got to do something.
You would hope.
Oh, I really hope. I really hope. Yeah, my worry as far as fantasy production goes is that this just isn't a super aggressive pass offense. You know what I mean? That they try to kind of control the ball and use their two running backs and Pollard and Spears. And I'm not saying they have the defense to play that way all the time, but yeah, maybe they don't want to air it out because they don't have the personnel to do that.
Yeah, and it's official. The Jaguars have selected Travis Hunter. The Giants are on the clock.
Wow. All right. Wow, you figure if they're trading up, that's what they're trading up for. Man, it's getting spicy already.
Already spicy.
Yeah, rare good move by the Browns. Maybe just not picking early is their thing, right? Maybe that's their key to success. You can't screw it up if you don't pick that early.
That's true. And look, if Cam Ward is the only quarterback you really like in this draft, why not just wait till next year? Go into this season with who do they have? Kenny Pickett and Joe Flacco?
That's correct. Joe Flacco, be ready. Be ready. Put him on your waiver wire video week 1 right now.
Cannot, yeah. Can't feel great about the Browns pass catchers right
now. Okay, fair question. Bulldog. God, I love the Bulldogs. What does this mean for BTJ?
Well, that's a fair question, but that's tough to answer because, again, we don't know the Jaguars' plans for Travis Hunter yet because, again, they weren't talking about drafting Travis Hunter because nobody expected Travis Hunter to fall all the way to 5. So they weren't talking, where the Browns were talking about, hey, we view Travis Hunter as a two-way player. We view him as a guy who can play both sides, 100% of the snaps. We don't know how the Jaguars view him yet. So if Liam Cohen or the GM comes out and says, like, hey, we see, a Pro Bowl caliber cornerback who can also sometimes play wide receiver, then it doesn't really affect Brian Thomas Jr. If they say, hey, we don't even want him to play corner, we drafted him to play wide receiver alongside BTJ, then it's got to hurt BTJ a little bit. I mean, it's never a good thing when, you go from a guy getting all the targets to, splitting the targets. Because, I mean, who was BTJ? Look, BTJ is a great player, no doubt about it, but who he's competing with, especially towards the end of the season, like Parker Meadows, Brenton Strange, like who was like they had to throw to him. There wasn't anybody else.
Yeah. That's exactly right. I mean, I don't feel, I could be wrong. I mean, actually, now I got to think about it. If you trade up to get a guy at number 2 overall and you give up that kind of draft capital just for him, you got to think they got major plans for him on offense, not just on defense. So, right. Yeah, I think that does mean that he's getting his share of targets, but I don't feel it moves Brian Thomas down from being the clear alpha and being a stud. And it doesn't move him out of the first round for me. I mean, he's still the guy there.
Yeah, I still think he's the guy. I definitely still think he's the guy. I mean, he showed that last year. But again, it's much better when your wide receiver is getting 13, 14, 15 targets versus 8 targets.
Right. This is true. But look, for me, I already had Malik Neighbors over Brian Thomas Jr., and I think this just solidifies that.
Yeah, and especially if the Giants do go Shedeur here. I really like Shedeur. I don't know why all these reports about teams not liking Shedeur. I mean, yes, he doesn't have like that crazy arm, strength, but he's got pretty much everything else you want in a NFL ready QB. So I don't know.
I think I know what it is. I don't think it's that teams don't like Shedeur. I think it's they don't love Dion always being around, telling them how great he is, and he's going to go to you. You're going to pick him. You know what I mean? It's kind of like the LeVar
Well,
Ball
the good news
thing.
is during the
Like,
season, Dion's going to be busy coaching the Buffalo, so you don't have to worry about him being around.
well, yeah, no, it's not like LeVar Ball where he's going to be like on the sideline, like trying to be coaching. I mean, he did try to be coaching in the NFL, it didn't work. But anyways, yeah, I think that's just some people just get rubbed the wrong way by the attitude. Just too much, too much confidence, maybe cockiness. You know what I mean? They're just, and some people they're like, yeah, well, forget you. I think that's all it is. If you look at the guy objectively on tape, he's a good quarterback. He's first round caliber. You know what I mean? I think it's just the other stuff overshadows it.
I know, but
you know how coaches and GMs are, especially the old school types. They look at this.
No, I'm sure there are some coaches and GMs out there that get turned off about that. But I think there's enough out there that say, like, look, that's actually a benefit. Like, you ever hear Tom Brady like, oh man, I hope one day I'm okay. Like, I hope one day, like Tom Brady literally after being like a 6th round pick passed Robert Kraft in the tunnel as a rookie and said, I'm going to be the greatest pick you've ever made.
Yeah, he was.
But he was, but like, you don't want, that's not what don't you want that? Like, what do you want? You want like, hey, I'm going to do my best and hopefully it ends up okay, guys. Hopefully, like, you want them in the locker room, like, hey guys, I just want you to know, like, I'm going to go out there and I'm going to do my best, guys. And whatever happens, it happens. No, man, come on. Come on, it's the NFL.
Yeah. That's what it should be. But yeah, things are received differently based on the source. And like I said, if it was just him, I think it would be a totally fine level of confidence. But I think Dion just makes it too much for some people.
Well, the Giants did not go with Shedeur Sanders. They went with Abdul Carter, best defensive player in the class. So nice value there for them at 3.
No surprise there. Yeah.
Now the Patriots on the clock.
All right.
Patriots are interesting. I have no real good feel for what the Patriots might do.
By the way, I'm gonna post these. Try to keep people informed of the latest picks here. All right, does that work? Looks good, right?
Yep, that works.
They haven't updated it on ESPN yet on the website. I'm surprised. It's usually automatic.
We could even do a banner here. 1.
Yeah, I'm thinking. That's what I'm thinking. Scrolling. There's a scrolling ticker, so we're official.
2.
Well, the Giants. I didn't think they would go QB early. I mean, I guess they wanted Cam Ward. That wasn't going to happen, but yeah, it's too early for Shedeur. The question is, and apparently they've got their mind made up on Jackson Dart. But the question is, when do they get Jackson Dart? Are they just waiting for their 2nd round pick, or are they going to take that chance, or are they going to try to trade up? Is there a team that they're worried is going to snatch Jackson Dart from in front of them?
See, I don't get the Jackson Dart love. Like, Jackson Dart to me just screams like fine, right? Like he's just fine. Like what does Jackson Dart do where you're like, wow, he's really good at that?
He was really good at being in the SEC.
Like, you know what I mean? Like he's just fine. Like, I don't look at Jackson Dart and say, hey, this is a guy who could potentially change your franchise. He could take your franchise from maybe being a non-playoff team to a playoff team. But I think that's it. Like, I don't see a guy who can take your team to being a Super Bowl contender. Whereas, like, yeah, you can say, hey, Cam Ward, this guy might, he's going to turn it over 20 plus times and kill your franchise. Okay, he might, but if you can rein that in a little bit, he has a chance to elevate your franchise the way Jaden Daniels or Lamar Jackson, guys like that have, or Josh Allen. Same with Shedeur. Now, Shedeur does not have the turnover problem, but he doesn't have that like crazy, like he's not gonna, wow you with those Patrick Mahomes throws or anything like that. But he's accurate. He's, great command of the offense, great pocket presence, can get through his progressions, everything you want in an NFL QB. Jackson Dart to me is just like, he's one of those guys. He's like good at everything, but great at nothing.
Yes. I mean, maybe this is like a negative connotation to a lot of people. I mean, it's not good in fantasy, but he would be a good game manager. It's like he won't do anything magnificent. He won't make a lot of mistakes. He'll be good,
Right.
but not great. That's not worth a first round pick. I mean, if you take him on the second round, that's fine, but still you're hoping that there's some more upside there, right? That you could mold him into a great quarterback, because even if you're taking in with the very first of your second round picks, really early, that's early draft capital still, you want more than just kind of good. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Anwar is a fan. He says, I don't know, is this a good way to categorize what you're talking about? He's a classic QB. I don't know, more like an old school type, like a pocket passer.
Yeah, exactly. He's like one of these guys. He's just to me, he's just in a long list of guys. They're even around today. Like, I'm trying to think of some names, but guys that like, hey, like these guys that get thrown around from team to team, always moving around teams, but they're starting every year and they're solid and they get the job done. But you're not really a Super Bowl contender with them. He's right there with those guys. Right there with those guys. And that's just not what I want. If I'm going to spend a first round pick on a QB, I want, a potential franchise altering guy. So,
yeah. You know what he is? He's the ultimate. We're going to talk ourselves into him because it's a weak quarterback class kind of guy.
Yes.
He's like, okay, Cam Ward's gone with the first pick. We never had a shot. Sanders, some love him, some hate him. Someone will take him. Are we sure that he's our franchise guy? Not completely. All right. Who's next? That's two quarterbacks. Who's next? Jackson Dart. That's what it is. It's like we got to talk ourselves into somebody being a potential franchise quarterback because we need them. And I say we, I mean, the franchise itself, there's several franchises. We, the fans, we're looking for more franchise quarterbacks because there's not enough. They're not in this class. I mean, they're just not. And some years it's just that way. Some years, every quarterback in the class winds up sucking at the NFL level. They just do. And I'm thinking back to the last time the Giants took a quarterback, where I know we were watching live because we actually both were laughing pretty hard when they took Daniel Jones.
Yes, exactly. Okay, Daniel Jones is probably a good example. And by the way, Will Carter, offensive tackle of the Patriots, you got to feel pretty good about that. Get Drake May some offensive line help. That's pretty nice. Yeah, Daniel Jones is one of those examples where it's like, hey, maybe it's a weak QB class. Maybe we can turn this guy into a franchise QB. And look, maybe you can. And I think, what did they say? Brock Purdy, like somebody put Brock Purdy there. Like, sure, maybe you put Jackson Dart in a perfect system with talent all around him, and he could develop into that kind of guy. But man, it's asking a lot. That's asking a lot.
Yes, it's assuming a lot too. But it's just funny how sometimes it's like with quarterbacks, it's like all or nothing in a draft class. Like we had the 1 year and we're still spoiled by where it was, Joe Burrow, Tua, Herbert, Jordan Love, like all of those guys who are still starting quarterbacks and pretty good. And then there's the year where you get, Daniel Jones and, nothing else. So,
right. All right, Browns back on the clock, and reports are they're taking calls from teams to potentially move down again.
The Browns are going to move down again?
Well, they're taking calls. It's not official.
Wow. I mean, look, good on them. I mean, I'm not by any means a Browns fan, but they're finally doing something smart. I think that they need this. They need a complete overhaul. So I think that's smart. But the question is, right now we're looking at number 5. Who's moving up for what specifically?
Yeah, that's the thing, because I mean, Raiders, what are they going to move up for? I mean, Jets.
Do you think
Panthers,
somebody wants
unless
Shador?
it's like the Saints and they're worried that, but now I'm hearing that the Saints might not even want Shador at 9, although it sounds like the way, if you listen to the reports, like no team wants Shador. Apparently, this guy is not even draftable.
Yeah. It depends who you believe.
So I mean, maybe the Saints at 9, but if you're the Saints and you're looking at Shador, I mean, who are you really? I mean, maybe you're worried about the Browns taking him here. Because, I mean, the Raiders probably aren't going to take him. They just signed Geno to extension. Maybe the Jets could, if they're like, hey, we want, if Justin Fields doesn't work out, we have Shador, maybe. But the Panthers probably not, because they probably want to give Bryce Young another year. So and then I'm looking beyond that. Not the Bears, not the Cowboys, not the 49ers, not your Dolphins. Maybe the Colts at 14. They wanted Shador.
I thought about that. I said that's interesting, but I feel like they're not ready to throw in the towel on Richardson, and they just I don't know what they're doing with Daniel Jones. Like I feel like they're going to try to make do with that combination and basically see if either of them stick, and if it doesn't, and if it winds up going as badly as we both expect it's going to go for the Colts, they're just going to punt the season and start over, and they'll get their quarterback in next year's class where there's actual deeper talent in the quarterback class. I feel like some teams are willing to do that. That's why I don't think we see Jackson Dart go early, or at least we shouldn't see him go early. That's why I feel like some teams going to wait on Sanders, because I think a lot of these teams have learned from the past. When you take a quarterback who you think is projectable and, it's more of out of a desperation need type of situation, as opposed to the obvious talent, like this guy deserves to be taken early, then it winds up costing you, because you spend a couple years investing in that quarterback, and then you're still bad anyways, and then you still have to do it all over again. I am, yes, thinking of Mitch Trubisky specifically, and Daniel Jones. So I don't know. Other John, I don't think anyone takes Sanders at 5. I think he falls in the lap of whatever team still needs a quarterback and wants him and likes him when he's available. You know where I mocked him? I have him going to the Steelers at, 21?
Yeah, a lot. I'd be shocked if he fell all the way to 21, but I've seen a lot of people say, I'm pretty sure if he's there at 21, the Steelers are taking him. Mike Tomlin's not going to let him slide. And the Browns did go ahead and make the pick. Mason Graham from Michigan, defensive tackle. So,
all right. That's
no
actually
trade.
It's funny. That's why I had Graham going 5, but to the Jaguars. So right players just flip-flop the order here. The Patriots do need a receiver, but there's no receiver worth taking number 4. I mean, that was not going to happen. It's Rabel. You know where he's going to build. It's going to be in the trenches.
All right, and now we got the Raiders on the clock, and this is the first moment where I feel like Ashton Genty has a realistic chance to be drafted. Will it happen? Will it happen?
This is never guaranteed, but this is where it could get interesting. I think they take an offensive player. I think it's actually T-Mac. T-Mac? Is that what we're going with? T-Mac?
Yeah, it's either T-Mac, or you can call him his full name, Tettori. I don't know how you pronounce his name.
I'll go with T-Mac.
I like Tet, but whatever.
I like McMillan. I think McMillan makes sense here. I think clearly they need a running back still. But again, to me, with this class, why not wait? Wait till round 2? There's not going to be a good running back in round 2. You can still get the top receiver in this class and then still get a really good running back in round 2, round 3.
That's true. We shall see what they do here.
I saw it mentioned, I didn't get the name right, one of the assistants who is with the Raiders now, their offensive guys, it's not Kelly, but they have somebody who came over from Tampa, And the idea was, oh, well, look what they got out of Bucky Irving. We don't need to get, or maybe it was the GM. That's what I'm thinking of. Like, look, we made it work. We got a great talent with a 4th-round running back. Well, we don't need to spend a 1st-round pick on a running back. We'll just do that again, which is true. You could. I mean, I don't think teams feel like they have to take a running back in the 1st round, even if they need a running back. You know what I mean? Not this year, not this class.
I agree, but then there's also part of me that thinks after the pendulum swung so far the other way against running backs, and then what we saw last year with kind of the rise of the running back, and because this class is so stacked, that's why I think we do see more running backs. Like, I think there are some teams that look at what I know the Ravens didn't go to the Super Bowl, even though they should have, but that's because the Ravens just always find ways to beat themselves in the biggest games. But they look at what Derrick Henry did for the Ravens, what Saquon Barkley did for the Eagles, and think like, okay, let's go get that guy.
True. I mean, look, if the Raiders think they're getting themselves to the Super Bowl but drafting a running back, then they're part delusional. But yeah, I see the line of thinking. I mean, the Bears are clearly far away from the Super Bowl, but that's a team that now is putting pieces in place. And I could see them saying, hey, if we get a stud running back, that helps Caleb Williams. That, along with the new coach and everything else they've got, that could be something that takes us from not so great to maybe really good. So that just makes a lot more sense. The Raiders, I mean, they've got a lot more pressing needs, I think. But it's Pete Carroll. He wants to run the ball, right?
Exactly. It's Pete Carroll. But no, they definitely do. I would much rather see Genty with the Bears. And look, last year at this time, after the Commanders drafted Jaden Daniels, nobody thought they would be one game away from the Super Bowl and losing to the eventual Super Bowl champions.
It's true.
The Bears aren't that far off, to be honest. They're really not that far off. If Ben Johnson can turn Caleb Williams into the guy he's supposed to be, they could just as easily make that leap. I mean, I remember going into last offseason thinking, oh man, the Commanders defense is going to be so bad, and all it takes is for them just to be a little bit better, just like the Bears defense, and suddenly, you're a Super Bowl contender. So I would much rather see Genty go to the Bears than the Raiders.
Yes.
But this is the spot where, like, this is the first spot where I feel like we could see him go off the board.
I did not hear this. Alpha Jerk says there's a scenario where Kenneth Walker goes to Vegas, I guess, to reunite with Pete Carroll. I don't know why they would trade Kenneth Walker. I don't think they're going to do that. But you never know.
You never know. And now, apparently, Carolina, well, there it is. The Raiders took him. They took Ashton Genty. They did it.
Wow. Well, there it is. I mean, it makes sense. It's a fit. The Raiders were the worst rushing team last year. It's a huge need. And guess what? Pete Carroll still going to run the ball.
So how do we feel now? Ashton Genty, he's been going as he's now pretty much solidified as a 1st-round pick on the underdog drafts we've been doing. So we know one thing about him on the Raiders. He's going to get all the touches.
Right.
Is the situation good enough? Meaning O-line, offense.
Yeah, that's the question. Is the offensive line good enough? I mean, they're going to need to do some work still the rest of this draft to help the offense, specifically the O-line. They still need a receiver. You know what I mean? So, I mean, it's opportunity versus the team context, right? The offense itself. I mean, look, okay. I guess the probably the fairest comp to make sense. I'm not talking about physical attributes and the player itself, but situation. Saquon Barkley, right? The last time we saw a running back drafted this early, he went to a not so great team, the Giants, who could not put together even like a JV level offensive line to block for. And Saquon still looked amazing at times because that's how good he is. That's kind of what I see here. Genty's in a team that's not a good team and not a good run blocking team, not a good anything offensively team. But through his talent and sheer volume could still be really good. Is he going to be the best running back or one of the top 3, 4, or 5 running backs in the NFL this year? He could be, but I'm not going to take him over, but definitely not over Bijan. Definitely take him over Saquon. Gibbs is where it gets tough for me because clearly Jonte is going to get more touches than Gibbs, but Gibbs isn't on one of the teams with one of the best offensive lines. You know what I mean? So this is where it gets tough. Do we go for efficiency or volume?
Yeah, I think I still have to have Gibbs over him. Yeah, I know it's not as good as if he had gone to the Bears, but he's going to get all the touches. And we do have to remember, even though it's easy to think in your head, Raiders, bad offense. They did add Pete Carroll. They did sign Geno Smith. They're not going to be as bad offensively as they were last year. And even for as bad as they were offensively last year, Amir Abdullah was putting up nice games down the stretch. Sincere McCormick had some nice games. Like, you know what I mean? The running backs still had nice games, and these guys are nowhere near Ashton Genty level talent. So, yeah, I would have if it would have been the Bears, I would have said absolutely I'm in on Genty as a first round pick. I think with the Raiders, I'm still in on him as a first round pick. It's just I don't feel quite as confident. I'll say that. Like late first round, I can get behind Genty now, but I understand that now the risk is higher here. That maybe the ceiling is not as high as it would have been with Chicago.
Yeah, exactly. The ceiling, that's probably the best way to put it. The ceiling isn't as high. And, I hate to say, but having Pete Carroll there, that, hearing it doesn't give me warm fuzzies about the offense. We know he's going to commit to running the ball, but also to be able to establish the run, you have to not be behind by multiple scores, which means you need a good defense. I don't know. The Raiders are quite there with what we would call a good defense. So, but yeah, through sheer volume alone, and again, talent, he could be the next Saquon. I don't know. I'm taking him first round. It depends, obviously, on the situation, but early second, I think seems fair. Which, by the way,
now let me pose this question to you, because this is a lot of people have said if Genty goes to the Raiders, the Bears would take Omari and Hampton at 9. If Hampton goes to the Bears, wow. If that happens, I'm not saying it's going to, and of course we don't know, but if that happens, would you now be drafting Hampton over Genty?
No.
And congratulations, Royland, by the way.
By the way, sorry, we give a shout out to Royland. It's been a while. Yeah, congrats, man.
Congrats.
But again, glad the priorities are still straight. So no. Yeah, and you can hang out for a while, Roland. Your team doesn't pick until the second to last pick, not the last pick this year. No, I'm not going to say this player, going to this team, this situation is going to make him more valuable than the best running back. Because honestly, I'm not really convinced that Hampton is the second best running back in this class anyways. So there's that.
You like Henderson better?
I think I still have. No, I don't think I have Henderson ahead of him. I think it kind of depends on the situation and how they're going to be used. I think that's part of it too. I'm not ready to say who I think is, going to be better than him right here, right now. I like Caleb Johnson. You know that. I'm a fan of Johnson. I like Henderson. It just, to me, it's still, there's Ashton and then the other running backs, right? He's in a tier of his own. That's how I see it.
Yeah, no, I agree. Ashton's in a tier of his own, but I think Hampton, man, the Bears situation is just so good. Better O-line, better offensive. I'd rather have the running back attached to Ben Johnson than Pete Carroll. I'd rather have, the potential upside of a quarterback like Caleb Williams than Geno Smith, even though Geno Smith is fine. So, Yeah, I don't know if I could put. I don't think I would put Hampton over him either, though. But man, it would definitely narrow the gap. All right, Jets went with offensive tackle Armand Membo.
It's good. You keep Raheem. You keep Justin Fields upright. That's definitely a good thing. Oh, interesting. You think the Bears go tight end and wait on RB? I mean, they definitely could wait till tomorrow for a running back if they're not getting Genty. Do they go tight ends?
I don't think so. Why tight end? Cole Kmet's fine.
Here's why people are saying tight end. Ben Johnson, right? Sam Laporta made him a thing, right? He's going to find his Laporta.
I don't know if Laporta was his Laporta, or they just happened, like, he was just there and they liked him and they picked him. You know what I mean?
Yeah. No,
I don't think Ben Johnson's offense revolves around a tight end. I mean, we saw many games last year where it certainly did not revolve around the tight end. That's for sure. There were many games where they didn't even throw the ball to Sam Laporta. So I don't know. I'd be shocked if the Bears go tight end here. I think if they don't go running back, I think they're going almost certainly. Well, maybe they could go offensive line or defense, I think.
Yeah, even though they had added a lot of free agents on the offensive line, a lot of people thinking they just keep adding, just keep going, just really bolster the O-line, because clearly Caleb Williams needs all the help he can get. Maybe they'll go with like 6 or 7 offensive linemen this year. I don't know, just to prevent sacks.
They should.
It wouldn't hurt. Maybe that's what they do. Maybe they'll get big blocking tight ends for later on.
Yeah,
all right. Needle. Oh, Needle. This is a new viewer. Needle Ninja James.
What's up?
Thinks they go Michael Williams. I got him going, I think, to the Panthers, who are on the clock now, but we'll see.
Yeah, Panthers another team. All right, Giants picking up Kayvon Thibodeau's 5th-year contract option, so I think that's going to be a pretty good defensive line. As long as Abdul Carter can stay healthy. That's the big question mark with him, right?
Yeah, that's the only thing. There was something that had people freaked out a few weeks ago, and then it turned out to be nothing. But
he's had injuries.
Right.
He's had injuries. That's all. That's always the big worry here. But man, if those guys both stay healthy, that defensive line could be scary.
Well, so far pretty good for a fantasy standpoint. A quarterback, a wide receiver / corner being taken. And then we got our first running back at number 6 overall. The Raiders did it.
They did it. They did it. Number 6 overall, even higher than we saw Bijan a couple years ago.
Yeah. Running back is back, which is kind of nice. It's kind of nice to see running backs not completely devalued. So I think it's fair to ask now, looking at the teams that are coming up on the clock, when is the first wide receiver going to get taken? And we assume it's going to be McMillan. It might not be, but that's what we think. I don't see the Panthers going receiver. The Saints do need receiver, but are they going with that this early? And are they even trading down, because that's what the rumor was, that they want more draft capital, so they might not stay at 9, or are they going to just take the pick here? Bears, seriously doubt they're drafting a receiver. 49ers. I mean, the Cowboys might be the first spot where a receiver conceivably is taken.
49ers, maybe. I mean, they do still have Ayuk under contract, Jennings. They did take Pearsall in the first round last year. Are they willing to take another first-round wide receiver? I mean, it is Kyle Shanahan.
Yeah. I think they've got more pressing needs on the defensive line. So
I think Cowboys is where we could potentially see Tatoria. Sorry, I can't call him Tet anymore.
No, I had the Cowboys taking Golden, but if McMillan is still there, it makes sense that they take McMillan. So that might be.
I just think McMillan is a better fit alongside CeeDee Lamb. Gives them that role. They tried to have Michael Gallup play, tried to have Jalen Tolbert play, tried to have all these guys play that outside, big play wide receiver to go along with CeeDee, and none of these guys could do it, whether it was Gallup for injury or whatever the reason. I just feel like Matthew Golden is not the kind of receiver that complements CeeDee Lamb.
Yeah, and part of that speculation for me was because I thought McMillan would have been taken by now. I thought that's what the Raiders were going to do. But if he's still out there, I think he's got to be the number one receiver off the board. So we'll see. But the Cowboys still have to wait a couple more picks. We're still – the pick is in for Carolina, is it?
Yeah, the pick is in. Oh, and they did it. They took McMillan.
The Panthers did?
Yes. Wow.
Okay, I did not see that coming. I'm not going to lie. I didn't see that at all. I thought they would go defense. Wow.
All right. Jalen Coker. How are the Cokeheads feeling?
Crashing, coming down hard. If you're a Cokehead, it's I mean, look, he's still going to be out there. Let's also face it, Adam Thielen, how much time does he have left? Maybe he just is the odd man out here, I would think. But they got Leggett last year early. And McMillan is a different type of receiver. Obviously, the more big-bodied, like X-type, and Leggett should be more in the slot. And then Coker is the Y. Thielen is just kind of there. But, man, I don't know. That's surprising. I thought they would feel like they had more pressing needs. Do you think this is Canales being an offensive guy and focusing on that? Or do you think it's like, look, we better do everything that we can to make Bryce Young succeed so that this isn't a big disaster?
Probably both. Honestly. Like, let's get the number one wide receiver. Well, assuming Travis Hunter isn't going to be our number one wide receiver. Get the number one wide receiver. Give him another weapon. Get basically the best skill player, I guess, on the board still. But yeah, it's gonna be a mess. It's gonna be a mess trying to figure out Carolina's wide receiver group. McMillan is that true X outside wide receiver, which, I mean, for as good as Bryce Young started to look last year, I can't say I love this spot for McMillan.
Nah.
Yeah, I think he'll have his moments, he'll have his games, but I don't think he's gonna be at least not in year one. Week in, week out, top end fantasy contributor. So can't say I love this for McMillan.
No, for his fantasy value, it's not good. I would have felt better actually with him as a Raider, because you got Geno Smith. We know he can get him the ball, right? No target competition, basically, outside of Jacoby Myers. Okay, Brock Bowers, yeah, but he's the tight end. It's not the same thing. That's this offense. I know they need some explosiveness, because even though Bryce Young was pretty good in the second half of last year, it was efficient, but it was also kind of boring, right? It was a very conservative pass offense, maybe out of necessity because they didn't have that weapon. I mean, sure, maybe that's part of it, but Yeah, I don't love this. I don't love this.
Yeah, I
For
don't love it. I was already a little nervous for McMillan as far as being a fantasy stud, because when you look at his profile, he is very good on those outbreaking routes, which are the hard routes. They're the hardest throws. They're the throws that result in the least amount of completions. They're not as good for fantasy as those over the middle, those horizontal in-breaking routes. So now you put him with Bryce Young. And I'm not sold is, going to be able to hit those out routes over and over. Yeah, I think I kind of was getting Cortland Sutton vibes from McMillan, which isn't bad. Cortland Sutton's been fine. He's been fine, but Cortland Sutton is not like the cornerstone of your dynasty franchise or anything like that.
No.
No. So yeah, this doesn't feel good. This doesn't feel good for McMillan for fantasy.
No. I mean, on the other side of it, it's good for Bryce Young. I mean, I don't think this necessarily makes Bryce Young a guy I want as my number one QB in any fantasy league either. It does help him, but yeah, I don't know. Well, I guess if you think of it this way, maybe the fact they didn't go defense, maybe that's good for Bryce Young because they'll still have to throw a lot.
Well, that is true. That is true.
Yeah, Cortland Sutton. I mean, look, that's not a bad thing.
It's not a bad thing. I know a lot of people are gonna be like, "Oh, that would be terrible." Wait, what pick was that? That was pick 8. Because we're expecting more from McMillan,
right?
Just by default to being the number one wide receiver in this class. But if you look at Cortland Sutton, he was very good as a rookie. Tore his ACL year 2 after a fantastic. Well, he only played a half, but he was looking good in that half. Then, of course, the next year after ACL was terrible. The year after that wasn't great. But then the last 2 years, I mean, 800, 1,000 yards, 8 touchdowns, double-digit touchdowns. Like, he's been productive. He's been like that solid wide receiver 2 type for fantasy. And that's when I say Sutton, that's kind of what I mean. Like, I don't view McMillan. Even if he went to the Cowboys, I don't know if I view McMillan as a wide receiver 1 in fantasy, more like that solid wide receiver 2 type.
Yeah, that's fair. I think that's fair. I mean, I'm trying to think of what would have been a realistic landing spot where he would clearly be the number one guy, right? The number one receiver. And I guess he will be the number one guy in Carolina, again, kind of by default. If he had gone to the Cowboys, he wouldn't be the number one guy. But what would be another spot that's realistic where he would be the number one target, and it would make him a lot more appealing in fantasy? There's really not that many because there's not that many teams that are in need of a top flight wide receiver where you feel great about it. So yeah,
well, and that need a wide receiver, but also have a good enough quarterback to make you feel good about it. I mean, look, the Panthers had a need a wide receiver. With all due respect to Leggett, Jalen Coker, Adam Thielen, they needed a wide receiver. My worry is, can Bryce Young support McMillan as more than a wide receiver 2 for fantasy? I'm not saying a wide receiver 2. Like, obviously, he's going to be the wide receiver 1 on the Panthers, but I'm saying for fantasy. Like, is he going to be one of those, like Cortland Sutton? He's the wide receiver 1 on his team, but he's more like a wide receiver 2 in fantasy. Is that what we're going to kind of get from McMillan?
Yeah, well, I mean, I agree that there was a need, but I don't know. They could have gone defense here and gotten a receiver in round 2. I mean, it wouldn't be McMillan. Obviously, they think McMillan is going to be a stud. And maybe he is. Like, maybe he will be. There are some question marks with him, so I don't know. I just don't love it.
All right, and the Saints do not go Shador; they go Kelvin Banks, offensive tackle. So they beef up that offensive line. Little surprising with the reports about Derek Carr.
Yeah, but we did hear this past week that they were not sold on Shador, and obviously they didn't trade down, but I don't know. Well, the question is now, what do they do if Carr doesn't play, as they're talking about, not playing? Do you think this is the Saints basically punting 2025? Like, here we go. You guys have the ball. We'll see you next year.
I mean, if Derek Carr can't go this year, you're not going to get anything out of Spencer Rattler. Who was the other one? Who was the other guy last year?
Who was there? There was another guy. I know.
Like who's their other? He was even worse.
He was worse. That didn't last very long.
It was Spencer Rattler and Jake Haener.
Of course, Jake Haener.
Oh, but I do see that they did sign Ben DiNucci, so maybe he's the answer.
Ben DiNucci. I thought he was in the UFL or whatever it's called.
Oh, yeah. I mean, if Derek Carr can't go.
Yeah. By the way, Amars, you're saying, I thought Xavier. No, you're thinking of Jonathan Mingo. He got traded to Dallas for.
Yeah, Jonathan Mingo, another failed wide receiver pick by the Panthers.
Yeah, another failed trade by the Cowboys.
Yes.
They actually gave up a second-round pick for him, didn't they? I think they did.
That sounds like a Cowboys move.
That's they're wishing they had that pick back. Oh, okay. 4-10 Braxton thinks that Shador's going to show out. He's going to have that chip on his shoulder, kind of like Aaron Rodgers all those years ago.
Maybe.
Tom Brady, right? All those.
Yep.
Hey, we'll see. But he's still got to be in the right situation to succeed. Back to back to McMillan. I think Packers would have been very exciting. I didn't think he would fall that far, but that would have been a team like, okay, good quarterback, good offense, could still technically be the number one receiver there. That would have been a nice spot. Maybe even the Texans, he could have been the number 2 behind Nico Collins, but that's still a pretty good spot. But that was probably wishful thinking.
Yeah. But I feel like even with the Packers or the Texans, still probably nothing more than a wide receiver 2 for me. Because again, you got Jordan Love, but you also have Jaden Reed, Dontavian Wicks, Romeo Doubs, Luke Tucker Kraft, right? It's just he's not going to be a target monster there. And then the problem with the Texans is Nico already plays the X, so now what does McMillan do? So I don't know. I just wasn't feeling good about McMillan coming into the draft, to be honest. Yeah. And I don't feel much better now that he's been picked.
All right, Ryan correcting me. It was a 4th round pick, not a second. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, second would be insane.
That's why I assumed the Cowboys did that. But yeah, 4th round pick. Still probably regretting that.
All right, so Bears are now on the clock.
So here's where it could get interesting. Obviously, Genty off the board, and now McMillan off the board. Do they go offense?
I think they could go either way here. I mean, we've seen what? 3, 4 offensive tackles now? 3? So offensive line starting to thin out a little bit. They certainly need, they still need offensive line help. They do need help in the defense. They could go running back. I think the only thing I really feel like they're not going to do is wide receiver, and they go tight end. And as I predicted, not Tyler Warren like everybody thought, the number 1 tight end off the board, Colston Loveland.
Wow, you nailed it.
I just feel like Tyler Warren is overhyped. I'm just saying it right now. He's overhyped.
Wow. There you go. Ben Johnson getting his tight end. Some people
got to Sam Laporta, I guess.
Got his guy, Colson Loveland. So, okay. So as this happens, now I'm big on Loveland as well. I did not think he would be a top 10 pick. I can tell you that. I was a little skeptical. Now, I did mock 2 tight ends, Warren and Loveland, going in the first round, but not this high. I had the first tight end going to the Colts, who they still might go Tyler Warren. That's very much in play. The Bears going tight ends, I mean, that does sort of make sense if they're building up that offense. And, Keenan Allen has not been re-signed. They still got they got DJ Moore, but they're looking for that other threat. Maybe instead of a third receiver, they're going for a young athletic tight end. So Loveland's over Warren, but I know why we like Loveland, but why are you down on Warren? Because I still think Warren is first round caliber.
I mean, I can still see Warren going in the first round, but I think people just assumed Warren was like, first of all, he's a liability in run blocking. And we've seen that with a tight end like Kyle Pitts. Kyle Pitts does not play a lot of snaps because when they're running the football, you can't have Kyle Pitts on the field. Like, he can't be out there when they're running the football. So that right there limits him. But also, I feel like Tyler Warren, there were a lot of production from Tyler Warren where I don't want to call them gimmicky plays because that's not fair, but just like designed wildcat snaps to him, designed things that aren't going to work in the NFL. You're not going to run a wildcat snap to your tight end in the NFL and have any kind of success. You're going to get destroyed. You know what I mean? Like things that will not translate to the NFL. Whereas when I looked at Loveland, yes, Loveland also is not the best blocker. He's not like an elite blocker or anything, but I think he's at least good enough to not be a complete liability in that, where he will be out there even on running downs. He'll get more snaps. Loveland also can line up anywhere on the field. And I feel like Loveland's athleticism and route running was better than Warren's. Like, I feel like a lot of Warren's production was yards after the catch, which is important. And again, the way Penn State schemed him open, I just felt like Loveland's skill set translated to the NFL better.
Well, I mean, when you invoke the name of Kyle Pitts, that's a big red flag. But
I'm not saying Tyler Warren's going to be the next Kyle Pitts. I'm just using that as an example. Like, people are always complaining, like, why is Kyle Pitts only playing 60% of the snaps? It's because he can't block. And he's a liability in the running game, so you can't have him out there all the time.
Right.
You can't be out there playing 80, 90% of snaps.
Okay, so 2 things. I don't see that with Warren as a blocker. I think he's pretty solid as a blocker. That's not his strength per se, but no one's drafting him to go out there and block. I think he's fine. And Loveland is solid as a blocker too. I don't think he's significantly better, maybe a little bit better. One thing I think it's better, like what you were touching on this as far as the offense, the gimmicky plays. Loveland is coming more from like a pro style offense, right? He will be able to plug and play, and I think he's better suited for an NFL like right away day one. Warren will need to get involved in creative ways, like you said. A team will have to want to use him in that way. And obviously, if a team is going to draft him in the first round, that's their plan, right? I mean, look at the Raiders. They did all sorts of things to get Brock Bowers the ball, and it worked for Brock Bowers. Didn't help them win, but still, it worked for Brock Bowers. So if you get a team that's dead set on doing that, I think Warren could still be a beast. But Loveland going here to the Bears is very, very interesting because they still have 2 very good receivers, right, that are ahead of him. So I don't think there's any chance he is Sam Laporta in his rookie season, right? I think we can take that off the board. You agree with that?
Yeah, no, I mean, I think we've been a little spoiled the last 2 years with Sam Laporta and then Brock Bowers, and now we just assume every year a rookie tight end is going to be awesome.
Yeah.
So yeah, but I do think, I mean, this has got to be one of the better spots, and not good for Cole Kmet, I guess, who was a guy I thought was like a sneaky tight end pick. Guess not. Guess not.
I now have way too much Cole Kmet in underdog, but whatever. That's hey, look, Cole Kmet is not going to just vanish into thin air. I mean, he'll still catch some passes and some touchdowns. And look, Loveland may not take right away. Rookie tight ends, like you said, they take time. Usually they do. They don't just come out and stand out right away. So maybe Kmet's still fine. Yeah, it's just, I'm shocked that they went tight end this early. I'm just kind of surprised.
I'm surprised too, to be honest. I'm not surprised Loveland went first, but I'm surprised it was this early. Yes, definitely.
Right.
Did not think
I guess
we would have a tight end in the top 10.
Yeah, I'm surprised a tight end went this early. That's what I'm surprised at.
Right.
What is up? Andrea's in the house.
What's up, Andrea?
As is Anthony. Anthony says so far his predictions, he's batting 1,000. He's missed on every single one.
You're not alone.
Even Cam Ward. Even Cam Ward. Okay. So, all right. Do you still think Warren goes to the Colts or top 15?
I don't. I mean, I said on one of our most recent streams, I think people are going to be surprised with Tyler Warren. I think Tyler Warren. I mean, obviously, I'm not an NFL GM. I'm not in the rooms talking about the prospects, but I think Tyler Warren has some red flags at the next level.
Well, this is the next little bit of drama is where does Warren go? Everybody's assuming it's the Colts. Well, I will say this. I mean, the Colts definitely have a need for a tight end, but I think if that's where he winds up, I'm completely out on him this year. Not in Dynasty, but this year completely out.
Gotta be. I mean, what? We're looking at Anthony Richardson or Daniel Jones? Like, nah, I can't. I'm not gonna. Jonathan Taylor is the only Colts player I'm gonna draft this year. I just can't do it unless they take Shador at, unless they shock everybody and take Shador or something. I can't do it.
Yeah, but if they're taking Shador, then that means they didn't use that first round pick on Warren, so they can't have both.
True.
Unless they
true.
do some weird trade, but yeah. Well, we'll see. And it's also not a good spot. I mean, besides not having an actual quarterback, it's also not great because the Colts do have viable receivers. I mean, they just took A.D. Mitchell last year, right, in round 1, and they got Michael Pittman and Josh Downs. They have good receivers. They just don't have a quarterback to throw them the ball.
Yeah, that's the issue. So whoever the pass catchers are for the Colts, it's like, no.
All right, we got Maxman waiting to see who the Hawks take. Got a few more picks before that happens. Look, you know what? Tight end might not make sense for them, actually. But we'll see. All right, on the clock right now is okay. So I don't see who, but it looks to me like the Cowboys are on the clock. That means the Niners pick is in, but I don't know who it is.
Yeah, Niners pick is in, but they haven't announced it yet.
Niners, I think I had them going defensive line. I'll have to bring it up. I don't remember who I
mean, that's what they should do. The defense is taking a big hit in this offseason.
Yeah. Yeah, no kidding. Big time.
All right, there you go, Michael Williams.
Yeah, he fell a little bit.
Yeah, they pretty much they almost had to go defensive line there, especially with, I mean, I doubt the 49ers were sitting there thinking we're going to see a running back, a wide receiver, and a tight end go before us.
Hmm. So now it is the Cowboys. Well,
All right,
McMillan
Brian, here
is.
you go. Your Cowboys are on the clock. Who do you want them to take?
Yeah, well, good question. Who would you like to see them take? McMillan is off the board, so that means Golden is still in play if they go receiver. I mean, from Texas, next receiver for most people, the number 2 receiver ranked.
I don't want to see Golden to the Cowboys, honestly.
Mm-hmm. All right, well then, so 2 questions: who do you want them to take for fantasy, and who do you think they will take?
Honestly, who I'd like to see him take for fantasy would be Omari and Hampton. I know the Cowboys don't have that beefy O-line they had back in the day with Zeke, when Zeke was a young spry running back, but it's still a good offense when Dak is healthy. Rico Dowdle was productive last year, and he's nowhere near the talent Omari and Hampton is. He would instantly be a 250 to 300 touch running back, because I'm not worried about Javonte Williams or Miles Sanders taking any touches from Omari and Hampton. So in a perfect world, I'd like to see him take Hampton.
Yeah. This is how many years in a row we're like, Cowboys are going to get a running back, right? Like, they're going to get a running back. It would make sense. And they have a very talented RB who some people say, I don't know if I ever will believe it, that they had him as the number 1 running back in this class over Ashton Genty. I think that's BS. But Hampton is still out there, so it is possible. But I don't expect it. I actually think Golden, I would expect that over a running back. But look, they have other needs too. So there's no guarantee here. They could also get an edge rusher, maybe like a Nick Scourton from A&M, local boy, but also, maybe they decide they long-term aren't going to stick with Mike Parsons because they got too much money to pay out other places.
The Cowboys again could go multiple directions here.
Right. All right. So Anthony wants to know biggest surprise so far.
I think it's got to be Loveland to the Bears at 10. I don't even can't even say Genty to the Raiders at 6 is a surprise, because we knew that was probably the first spot. Maybe the biggest surprise is the Jaguars trading up to 2 to get Hunter. It's either that, it's either Jags trading up to 2 to get Hunter, or Loveland to the Bears at 10.
I think my biggest surprise is McMillan going to the Panthers. I didn't see the Panthers going receiver this early. They have, in my opinion, more pressing needs, especially on defense. I mean, what team doesn't need help on the defensive line and pass rush? And, maybe Jalen Coker isn't going to be a stud, but he was serviceable. He's got some potential. They just drafted Liga last year. So I don't know. I just figured they would go another direction and maybe get help later. So to me, that's the biggest surprise. I didn't have him going to that particular team. I had him going in the top 10, just not there to Carolina. So that's mine. But we still got plenty of first round to go.
Speaking of offensive line, the Cowboys beef up the offensive line. They take Tyler Booker, Alabama.
Figured. Boring pick. No running back. No receiver. We should have known. Cowboys never do what the fans want.
I mean, they can't go. Okay, sure. You don't want to take a running back with pick 12. I understand that.
Yeah.
But they can't really come out of tomorrow without a running back, right?
Oh, you think so? Just wait. Jerry Jones will do whatever Jerry Jones wants.
That is true. Yeah, you're losing again already.
Draft grade F-. No. Oh, I mean, look, I'd say it's actually a pretty smart pick. I don't think they need to take a running back who isn't Giante at 12. I think that's too early. I don't think they need to, especially in this draft class. I keep saying it. I don't think another team in the first round needs to take the running backs left, period. I think somebody will, but I don't think it's a must. So it's not a bad pick. You can never go wrong with an offensive lineman.
Right.
So I think that's okay. Well, I take that back. You can definitely go wrong with offensive lineman, but it's definitely a safer pick. So it's not bad. It's not bad.
Yeah, and I know it's always boring when it's like offensive line or whatever, but in the NFL, it's important. The offensive line is very important. So
we were getting spoiled. 5 skill players, fantasy relevant players in the first 10 picks. It couldn't last forever.
I did not expect that. I definitely did not expect that.
No. All right, so on the clock, well, look who it is now. Lucky number 13. It's the Miami Dolphins.
All right, what are your Dolphins doing here?
Thinking defense. I mean, what they ought to do is take an offensive lineman. I mean, that's probably their biggest need. I just don't know if who's on the board. I actually had mocked Membu and had hoped Membu would fall to them. Didn't happen. I don't know if there's an offensive lineman that warrants being drafted this early that's out there now that we've seen the last couple of picks. So I'm thinking defense. I'm thinking an edge rusher or Mike Green would be nice. I'd be happy with that pick. So if it's not offensive line, which I don't think it is now, I think it's defensive line.
They definitely need it.
Yes, they do. Corner is also potentially in need if Jalen Ramsey wants out, but I don't know who they would take here. I guess they could go, is it Jedi Barron, possibly, or Thomas from Florida State. But I'm guessing they have a history of going D-line early.
Yeah, we haven't seen any defensive backs go. It's not the best defensive back class.
Right.
And then Matt asking what the Jags trade looked like. The Jags traded, so they swapped 5 and 2. The Jags gave up their number 2 pick this year, a 2026 first, and I think picked like 130. And the Browns gave up the number 2, 1 something and 2 something this year. 100 something, 200 something, I should say. I don't remember the exact, but it was something like that. So it was Jags traded from the 5 to the 2, also gave up their second round pick and a 2026 first.
I mean, if you're going to do that, it's to get a generational type player or a franchise quarterback. And basically, after Cam Ward was drafted, there were no franchise quarterbacks left. So Travis Hunter, I mean, could be worth it. Could be worth it. Especially if he helps you on both offense and defense. It's very rare that you get a player like that. Now, you asked me what I want the Dolphins to do here. I would like to see them go offensive line. I don't know who that's out there now is worth taking here at this pick. So, yeah, it's probably going to be a defensive player, which, again, we definitely need. Definitely.
Yeah, this is the problem when your team like the Dolphins, the Colts, the Falcons, the Cardinals, the Bengals, the Seahawks. Like, you're just good enough to not get a high-end pick. You know what I mean? But not good enough to where like you're like, well, it's okay because we won the Super Bowl. It's okay we're drafting, or like, hey, we almost made the Super Bowl, or like we could have a chance to make. No, you're just stuck in the middle, right? You're stuck in the middle, like. You're too good. You're too good to get one of the elite picks, but you're too bad to like really have hope for a Super Bowl. It's like the worst spot to be in. It's the spot the Commanders were in year after year because Ron Rivera wanted to win 8 games every single year and just get stuck in the middle and never get any better.
Yeah, he was trying to beat Jeff Fisher's record of consecutive 8-8 seasons.
Right.
Yeah, that's where the Dolphins have been the last few years. Now, a lot of people are saying this might be it for Mike McDaniel, that if they don't take a huge step forward here, I mean, definitely making the playoffs has to be. I think it's a must, but I don't know. Some people are saying
I'd love to see Matthew Golden and then a Tyreek Hill trade. Just for the chaos. That
would be fun. I wouldn't mind that. I wouldn't mind that at all. I don't know if it's going to happen, though.
I don't think so. I don't think it's going to happen. All right, pick is in for the Dolphins.
Just be prepared for a boring defensive lineman.
Mm-hmm.
Although I will say Mike Green is pretty exciting. He was the one who made a lot of noise because in the the Senior Bowl, he totally trucked that offensive lineman. He flattened him, made the highlights. But we'll see. Let's see who they take. Yeah, pick is in. Colts are on the clock.
Kenneth Grant, defensive tackle.
Defensive tackle. All right. I guess I'm okay with that. That's what I expected.
Yeah, not exciting, but again, these teams are trying to win football games, not fantasy football matchups.
Now, the question is, do the Colts go Tyler Warren? A lot of people are assuming. Do they get crazy and take Shadur Sanders?
Probably not. I don't know if they do either, honestly. I feel like every year people just mock tight ends to the Colts, and then every year they don't draft tight ends.
This is true. Every year. I feel like, though, also there have been a few years that they've taken a tight end later, not early, but they do keep drafting tight ends. They just don't pan out. So I guess they're like, look, you're just going to have to take one as early as possible. They're like, okay, fine. I don't know that they're going to do it. I mean, look, they do need another playmaker, I suppose. Does it matter when you have Anthony Richardson, Daniel Jones? It doesn't matter.
All right. Well, apparently they knew who their guy was because they took him almost instantly, and it is Tyler Warren to the Colts.
All right. Well, the betting line was right.
So, in your dynasty drafts, Colston Loveland or Tyler Warren? Who are you taking first?
I mean, you already know. Easily Loveland now. Easily Loveland. Now, I will say, again, not giving up on Warren for dynasty because I have a strong feeling that we won't see the Daniel Jones, Anthony Richardson competition in 2026 and beyond. But if they do wind up getting themselves a franchise quarterback, and then year 2 of Tyler Warren tight end, yeah, I mean, look, here's what I'm going to do. I'm not going to draft him this year because he's going to get overdrafted, right? And then if he has a disappointing season, then I would rather try to swing a trade for him in year 2. Easy said than done, but still, he's still a tight end, right? I mean, Come on. If I miss on him, oh well.
Exactly. Yeah, you can't feel good in year 1. And this is something I was actually thinking about because once the draft is over, I'm going to do top 20 rookies. And I was thinking about this. It's like, you might as well, like, I know a lot of and I do this too, so I'm not picking on any dynasty content, but a lot of dynasty content will say things like, I know it's not a great situation for him this year, but long term, like you just said, right? Long term, it's probably not going to be Daniel Jones and Anthony Richardson. And there's nothing, and that statement is totally true. But think about, let's go back in time to last year. If I would have told you, you should draft Brian Thomas Jr. in your rookie drafts ahead of Marvin Harrison, ahead of Malik Neighbors. You should draft Ladd McConkey ahead of Marvin Harrison and maybe right there with Malik Neighbors. You think you're an idiot, right? You're an idiot. Whatever happens year one is going to impact how people view these guys going into year two.
Absolutely.
So having that, like, well, long term, it could be good for him. Who cares? Because if he's terrible in year one because his quarterbacks can't throw him the football and he only has like 35 catches for 400 yards and no touchdowns or one touchdown, his value is going to go way down.
Yep.
And if Colston Loveland has a Sam Laporta type year where he gets 10 touchdowns, people are going to be like, oh, Tyler Warren's a bust and Colston Loveland's a stud. That's just how it works. That's how people think. So I'm not just, who cares what the long-term outlook is? Just tell me how the outlook is this year, because it's going to impact next offseason how people value them. So I agree with you. Tyler Warren's value probably will be much lower this time next year.
And so there's almost no point. Again, we're assuming he's not going to be a stud in Indianapolis in year one. Maybe he is. Who knows? Like, we're just saying like it's a foregone conclusion. It might not be, but still. Tyler Warren, I mean, you obviously had some concerns about him anyways. He's clearly not Brock Bowers, and people want to slap that. He never was going to be that, right? Okay. But even so, if he's the number one tight end in this class, right, he could be maybe Sam Laporta. Okay, fine. Maybe. This is not the Lions offense. It's the Colts offense, but he's still going to be overdrafted. And if he in any way disappoints compared to expectations, which we think the expectations are way too high, you just don't draft him, period, because his stock will only go down. So it's like a sunk cost, right? You're already saying, I'm taking the L here.
Yes, exactly. And like I said, I think because of Sam Laporta, because of Brock Bowers, we've gotten spoiled with these rookie tight ends. And now everybody was just Tyler Warren, this unbelievable prospect. Like, he's a good prospect, but he's nowhere near the level that Brock Bowers was as a prospect. Now, Sam Laporta wasn't like any crazy prospect either. But I mean, even Kyle Pitts, I feel like, at least skill-wise, if you just look at him as a pass-catching tight end, had a better prospect profile than Tyler Warren did. We've just had 2 straight years of rookie tight end dominance, and now people just expect another year of rookie tight end dominance.
Yeah, and I'll throw in this too, because I think this does have something to do with it. Tyler Warren has the fact that he's from Penn State. Yeah. Tight end, every other year we see a Penn State tight end drafted high going in the NFL, and some of them wind up being good and some of them don't. All right, so that, I know that has something to do with it. It's just assumed that he's going to be a stud. Look, Brenton Strange could be good. Pat Freiermuth, he's good. Is he great? Do you want to draft him in the first round of your rookie draft all over again? Probably not. Mike Gesicki, you know what? Mike Gesicki was like Tyler Warren on steroids before he was drafted, because he broke the combine. Right? I know you remember this, right? 99th percentile everything. Mike Gesicki is like superhuman, the best tight end ever. Yeah, he's okay. So, you know what? He's still a tight end.
Yeah.
Okay, Alyssa wants to know who the Falcons going to get. The Falcons are still on the clock, I think.
Yeah, they're on the clock. I think I heard a lot of talk offensive line, but man, we've already seen five offensive linemen go? 4 or 5? I could see defensive line here. I think it's going to be a boring trenches pick, though.
It's got to be defense. It's got to be pass rush.
Yeah.
It's got to be. I think it's got to be. And I still say Mike Green is out there. I think he probably deserves to be taken soon. Maybe a different edge rusher, but I think it's got to be D-line. What? Oh, by the way, we got some people hopping in now. Sorry, I didn't get to this earlier. We got carried away, but Roberto is in the house.
What's up, Roberto? We got some good humor in the chat.
Yeah. So shout out to our OGs, Roberto, and the man, the myth, the legend, but he's not a myth because he joins us on the live show.
What's up, Keith?
Keith is in the house. Yeah, talking about tight ends because we can never get enough tight end talk. Do you think that Mayer gets traded?
I don't know. I mean, who even needs a tight end now? Yeah, like Michael. Man, remember Michael Mayer was supposed to be the next big tight end prospect. Yeah, I don't know. What are the Raiders legitimately getting for Michael Mayer at this point?
Right, exactly.
I mean, maybe they get a 6th, 7th round pick. Are they even gonna get a 5th for Michael Mayer at this point?
Maybe. I mean, I don't know. They'll probably just hold on to him, unless Pete Carroll doesn't like him.
Yeah, and just saw this stat. This is the earliest the second tight end has been picked in the common draft era. Yeah, 2 tight ends in the top 14. I said no tight ends in the first round. I guess I was wrong on that one.
Well, I mean, I figured those guys would go early. Loveland, I wasn't sure, right? I thought 1 tight end, maybe 2, probably 2. I mean, I had 2 mock, but not top 10 like that. No, I thought Colts was like the earliest. Keith saying the biggest shocker is the Browns doing something smart. That's it's never something you can assume.
Yeah, the thing is, like, I can't fault the Browns for taking that deal. It was a great deal, of course, but man, if Travis Hunter does end up being an impact on both sides of the ball, they might want that pick back.
That's true. But, like they at least have multiple chances now to draft the wrong player instead of just 1.
Yeah, no, true.
And they took a pretty relatively safe pick with their top 5 pick, Mason Graham. I mean, they got a DT lineman who should at the very least be able to help them stop the run and put some pressure on the interior. And, a guy again from Michigan, well coached, college that gets you ready for the pros, that system. I think that's a pretty high floor pick for them, which I guess is what Cleveland is going for now. Like, let's just not totally with our early draft pick.
Exactly.
All right, Atlanta milking the clock as much as they possibly can. It feels like they've been on the clock for like a half hour now.
They're probably trying to make a trade back because, I mean, it just feels like a spot where it's like, there's no obvious pick for them. So if you can move back.
Yeah, I don't know if they'll be able to. I mean, who's moving up here to get what? You know what I mean? They're probably trying, but I don't know who's wanting to trade up for here. That's honestly what the Dolphins should have done. Kenneth Grant, I'll just tell you, looking, not that I'm, Mel Kiper or whoever you actually respect as a college analyst, but I didn't have Kenneth Grant as a first round pick. I don't think he was a must at 13. Like, they could have got somebody comparable. So I don't blame the Falcons for moving down, and they could still get defensive line help. But yeah, who's dying to move up to 15?
Exactly. So,
and this is where it gets interesting because we're basically now, for the most part, like, we want to see another running back get taken, maybe another receiver. Who knows if another receiver even will get taken in the first round? But we're on Shedeur Sanders' watch. These teams, for the next, I don't know how many picks, basically until the Steelers, which is what I had. I don't think anybody is even thinking about a quarterback here. Atlanta obviously is not drafting one again. Arizona, Cincinnati, probably not Seattle, Tampa, Denver. I mean, maybe he falls into Mike Tomlin's lap at 21.
He might. It seems like he might. I think the only team that could potentially do it would be Seattle. Because didn't they sign Darnold just to a 1-year deal?
Yeah,
Darnold right about that.
It's like a stopgap.
Oh, they signed him to a 3-year deal.
But don't they have an out after 1 year?
I'm sure they do. Let's see. So yeah, maybe he's gonna fall. Maybe he's gonna fall into Mike Tomlin's lap. Yeah, they have a potential out. No, they have a potential out after year 2.
Oh. Well.
So maybe he's gonna fall into Tomlin's lap at 21.
That's
which then the question is, does that make us feel better about Pickens and Metcalf?
I don't think I can feel a lot better about Metcalf unless Pickens gets traded. Still.
All right, and the Falcons made their pick, Jalen Walker, defensive tackle, Georgia, as expected.
Yeah. So defense, that was definitely their need. Smart pick. Jalen Walker. Oh, Georgia, staying in state.
Yep.
Arizona.
That was definitely a need.
I feel like Arizona's going defense here too. Good. All right. Alyssa's happy with that pick. Good player.
Yeah, good player. I think we're probably going to see the same thing with the Cardinals here.
Yeah. Yeah, something similar.
I mean, I really think
Seattle will be a hard team to figure out. I mean, let's see how much confidence you have in Sam Darnold on draft days is the point here.
I really think we could see defense all the way up to pick 20. And then the Broncos are the team that I think we could see. I know, but I still think Travion Henderson in that Sean Payton offense would be a monster.
He would. Well, I went back and forth on this. Are they going to take a running back? Or are they not going to take a running back? And at first, I had them taking a receiver. Like I figured Golden would be gone by then, and so I was thinking maybe Luther Burden, right? Maybe that's the kind of guy that Peyton feels like he can move around in formations, like his Debo. And that's everyone thinks he's like just another Debo. He's not just the same as Debo, but still. And then you know what? I switched it last minute. I have Omari and Hampton going to the Broncos at 20. So we'll see if that happens. I mean, obviously it's still in play. I mean, none of these teams coming up is probably taking a running back. I would be shocked if the Bengals take a running back this early. We know the Bucs aren't. Cardinals don't need one. They already drafted early. So I think that's still very much in play.
Yeah, I don't think the Bengals are going running back this early. I think they gotta improve that defense. I mean, come on. You had a historically great offense last year, and your defense completely let you down. So I think they got to go defense. I think the Cardinals probably going to go defense. Seahawks probably going to. I mean, I guess the Seahawks, I could see something, but they did sign Kupp, so maybe they feel good there. I definitely don't think they're going to go running back with Walker and Charbonnet. Bucks, I think, also going defense. That defense was a huge liability last year. And then, so I think Broncos at 20 might be the next skill player we see picked. But then I wouldn't be surprised if we see like Broncos, Steelers, and Chargers all go offense. I could see Chargers going wide receiver.
Yeah, because I mean they kind of knocked out of the park with Lad last year, but there's still a need. Like Josh Palmer is gone. Um, although isn't Mike Williams back? Right? Isn't he a Charger now
Yeah,
again?
it does.
I mean
Look,
that there you go. That fills the need.
they've been trying to find that X receiver. Now the problem is obviously McMillan is gone.
Right.
So if you're looking for that outside, X, I mean, maybe Ayamanor, who I know a lot of people are high on him. I have some concerns, but they've been trying to do it with Mike Williams the first time, then Quentin Johnston, now Mike Williams again. Like they need that outside dependable wide receiver.
Yeah, and the way this draft is going and the way we think the rest of this round will go, I mean, they probably could and should wait and take one of those guys that could be available in round 2, because I don't see a whole lot of receivers going off the board the next few picks. Now, obviously, you got to wait till their second round pick. It's number 55 overall. They're not going to have, their pick of the litter. They're going to have to wait and see who's left. But if they like a certain receiver that isn't one of the top 5, they might just wait, and then maybe they should just wait. What is up, Mary Jo? Welcome back, Mary Jo. How you been? Seattle, yeah. If there's a need, it is their O-line. Well, look, remember, they have a defensive-minded head coach who wants to actually run the ball, and they didn't run it enough last year, which is why they're switching OCs. To be able to run the ball, you definitely need to be able to block. So that's definitely a need. I agree with that.
Yeah, and okay, so the Cardinals, as predicted, also go defense. Walter Noen, defensive tackle from Ole Miss.
Okay, not the name I had expected, but hey, they got their guy. So now we got the Bengals on the clock, and then Seattle. There's some people waiting patiently for the Seahawks. Cincinnati here.
I mean, I'd be shocked if it's not defense.
It has to be defense.
It has to be.
Has to be defense. And with the issues they're having, try to keep Trey Hendrickson, and then Sam Hubbard is retired, right? They need pass rush. So it almost has to be an edge rusher.
It has to be. It has to be. It was just such a liability last year.
Which means they'll draft a tight
end. Oh, that would be terrible.
They have the best tight end in the history of the world in Mike Gesicki. They don't need a tight end.
And we're saying Golden and the Texans. I think that would be a fantastic spot for Golden. I know they signed Christian Kirk, but they need that. He could fill that Tank Dell type of role, right? A guy that can line up all over the field, be used in all different ways. That deep speedster. Yeah, I think Golden and the Texans would be fantastic. I think Golden. I remember a couple years ago when the Vikings drafted Addison. I said, this is the perfect spot for Addison. Like Addison, excuse me. Addison needs to be somewhere where there's already an alpha wide receiver 1, and he could be a great number 2 complement wide receiver, and we've seen that so far. I think that's how I feel about Golden. I don't feel like Golden is an alpha wide receiver 1, but I think you put him alongside an alpha wide receiver 1, and he can be like that. Devonta Smith, Jordan Addison, that type of number 2 wide receiver that has a ton of fantasy value.
Yeah, that's a great point. Not every receiver is cut out to be the number 1 target. Even if they are given that opportunity, it doesn't mean they're going to thrive in that role. And sometimes they're better as a complementary player. So Golden remains to be seen. Also, Egbuka from Ohio State is interesting. I think there is a need for Houston to get another receiver for obvious reasons. But man, they've got to do something on the offensive line. I think that's so much more critical. So that's where I think they'll go. They could go receiver, and that would be nice. But man, CJ Stroud, like you said, was having a rough time last year, and then they lost some of their big offensive linemen as well.
All right, Bengals pick is in. Shamar Stewart.
There we go. No surprise. So Bengals going defense. And now
Seahawks.
Well, let's see what they do. So some people wanting offensive line. They could go receiver, but again, is that the most pressing need? But also, is that the best player available right here at this stage of the game? A guy like Golden or Luka or someone like that? I'm not sure.
Yeah, I don't think so. I mean, you just signed Cooper Kupp. I mean, I have my worries about Cooper Kupp, like what he has left, but the Seahawks obviously are betting on him. So I think if the Seahawks want a wide receiver, they can wait.
Exactly. Yeah, wanting that player to develop or to be their number 2 or 3 guy, it doesn't mean you need to take a first round pick on. Again, I just, this receiver class doesn't have a lot of standouts. And even McMillan, I would say I'm not completely convinced that he's going to be, an alpha in the NFL. He definitely could be. I don't love the landing spot. I don't know about Carolina. I mean, look, Canales, I like Canales. I believe in him. And Bryce Young did get better. Bryce Young looked pretty good for the most part. Just don't know if it's the best situation. But again, when you get past McMillan, I don't even know. I'm not completely sold on Egbuka even, despite how productive he was. Obviously the system he came from. It's very sketchy this year, I think, in terms of receiver.
It's definitely sketchy. There's certainly receivers I look at that have very high bust potential, but I also think there are some receivers that are being a little slept on. But I do feel like this is like a class kind of like we saw, I think it was like a couple years ago, where I felt like a lot of the receivers had to land not just in the right spots, because you almost always have to land in the right spots, but like into the right spots where they're going to be used in the right way. Like I think there's receivers in this class, like kind of like what we saw. We saw this with Keon Coleman last year. I did not think Keon Coleman should be an outside X receiver, and that's what the Bills tried to make him. I think there's a lot of wide receivers in this class who need to be, in the slot to have be productive in the NFL. And I worry that teams are going to draft them to be their, outside wide receiver, and it's not going to work out.
Exactly. Yeah, I just didn't think Keon Coleman should be drafted that high, period, no matter where he went. Same thing with Leggett. We're talking about Leggett in Carolina. I was surprised he went as early as he did.
Yeah.
All right, so we got...
All right, so the Seahawks allegedly are... Yeah, the Seahawks are allegedly, if you believe the reports, talking with teams about trading down. So we'll see if that happens. We have not, I mean, since that first big trade, we haven't had a trade yet.
Yeah, that was, like I said, kind of the feeling I would get. There weren't going to be a lot of trades because outside of those first big three, there really wasn't much to trade up for. Like, no really incentive to trade up. And we already knew the Titans were set on number 1, and so that wasn't going to happen. So it was either 2 or 3. That was it. One happened, the other didn't. It's just, again, there's no quarterbacks worth trading up for. Yeah, looking the rest of the way, basically, and we don't know ever how it's going to go. You know, my projections here, I only have one more offensive skill player being taken the rest of the way, and that's Hampton to Denver. Like I said, I seriously doubt. Oh, well, okay. I take that back. I thought Shooter Sanders was going to either fall to Pittsburgh here in the next couple of picks, or some team was going to move up to get him earlier. Obviously, that didn't happen. So if Sanders gets taken, it's Sanders, I think another running back with Hampton, and that's it. Now, I thought Golden would be off the board already, and he's not. So maybe 3. But then I think we're going to see a bunch of more defensive linemen go, and maybe some cornerbacks actually get drafted.
Yeah, I mean, we got to see secondary start going at some point here, right?
You would think. You would think. But pretty soon we're going to start getting to these teams that don't have needs. They just have wants.
Right. Which is a nice place to be.
Yeah. Which, by the way, as a still a Commanders fan, especially now, how does it feel to see them with low draft capital and maybe a Super Bowl run in the near future? What do you think?
I mean, it feels great. It feels great. Like, yeah, you got to be excited. I mean, it just shows the power, which is why I'm just surprised that like a team like the Saints didn't take a chance on Shador, because it just shows that literally you could be one QB away. One QB away. Like what you can't look at the Commanders last year and say like, well, yeah, they drafted Jaden Daniels, but they also had like this incredible edge rushing class or this incredible. No, it's just one quarterback completely. Obviously, you got to give credit to Dan Quinn, the new GM, Adam Peters. You got to give them credit as well. But like, it's not like they went out and completely overhauled the entire roster. It's just the power that having a guy like Jaden Daniels brings to the table, which is why I'm really surprised like a team like the Saints was willing to pass on a guy like Shador. It's like, okay, sure, maybe he busts. Maybe you miss on Shador, but okay, you try again next year. Like it's like you're not gonna win with Spencer Rattler and Jake Haener or Ben DiNucci or even Derek Carr, honestly.
Well, we've already proven that theory. We've seen Derek Carr there, and that's why they keep drafting early. But that's what I got to wonder. A lot of these teams, it's maybe partly that they're not completely sold on Shador Sanders, but also that they just know next year's class will be better. And they're just saying, you know what, we can just go a year without a quarterback and then see who we get next year. I mean, that just might be it. Like, why take a chance in a guy you're not completely sold on when you can feel a lot better about who you might get next year? And yeah, like Jalen Milroe is not getting taken in the first round. He's just not. And I don't think Jackson Dart is either. But
no,
maybe those teams are like, hey, let's roll the dice on a quarterback. Let's wait till round 2. That's probably what's going to wind up happening here. I do still think Sanders gets taken somewhere in round 1. I don't think he's a day 2 pick. Clearly not by anybody who views him as a franchise quarterback.
All right, so the Seahawks did go offensive line Gray Zabel of North Dakota State.
Solid. Not exciting, but solid.
So now I think we probably see one more defensive player. The Bucks here, and then the Broncos. That's where it could get spicy.
Yep. There's no way that Tampa doesn't take a defensive player here.
No.
There's no way. Yeah, so I've got to think there's no other team realistically who's even thinking about Jackson Dart as a first-round pick. I got the Giants taking him tomorrow. They've got to know he'll just be there. He'll be there. There's not a team who really wanted to spend an early draft pick on him, and there's no team left that needs a quarterback that badly that's going to take him. So I think that's pretty much what's going to happen. The second pick tomorrow will be Jackson Dart. Cleveland, well, we'll see what they do now.
I just can't believe. The Browns could go into 2025 with Joe Flacco and Kenny Pickett, but maybe I'm wrong.
I believe it.
They did pick up pick 36, so they have 2 early seconds tomorrow. So,
right, that's what I'm saying. They could still take a chance on a quarterback. I'm not counting on it. I don't think they will, but they could try Milroe, or if you actually believe any of the rumors about, was it Tyler Shuck? I don't think so.
Yeah.
No. It's just not a good year. Not a good quarterback class.
No.
Yeah. Waiting on the Broncos. Waiting for the Tampa Bay Bucks to make their defensive pick, and then we'll see what Denver does. Oh, the pick. I see the pick is in. I just don't know who it is.
Yeah, pick is in, but they haven't announced yet.
Yeah. I agree. Tyler Shuck does kind of sound like a Browns player.
True. Sounds like a Browns move.
All right, so let's be selfish here. What do you want the Broncos to take for fantasy?
I want them to take Travion Henderson.
All right, that's your guy. That's your. So you have him over Hampton. He's your number 2 running back.
No, I have Hampton as my number 2 running back. I just think Travion Henderson would fit that Sean Payton style. He would be like what we saw with Alvin Kamara. He might not be 1,000-yard rusher. He might not get 250 carries, but it won't matter because he'll catch 80+ passes in that offense, and he has a chance to turn any catch into a touchdown. Like literally from anywhere on the field, he can catch the ball and turn it into a touchdown. I just think like Hampton would be great there too. I just think Henderson, with how Sean Payton likes to use his running backs in the receiving game, would just absolutely smash in Denver.
Yep. And if it's a running back, whoever it is.
Oh, my. Well, okay, we might have our biggest shock of the draft.
Oh, wait a minute.
The Buccaneers took a wide receiver, Emeka Egbuka.
No.
Why?
No.
Why?
No.
Why?
They
just re-signed Chris Godwin. You still have Mike Evans under contract. You just drafted Jalen McMillan. Why?
There must have been a trade or something. There's no way.
No, they took him. Why? Why?
You're kidding. The Bucks in their top 20 pick took the position that they needed the least. They took a receiver.
Why? What are they doing?
What? That is crazy. Well, look, is that what this means? Chris Godwin's not ready? But even so, Chris Godwin's not ready. You were fine with Mike Evans, Jalen McMillan the whole second half of the year.
But even if they know Chris Godwin's going to miss half the season, he's still coming back. I mean, this is obviously terrible for Jalen McMillan.
Oh, I wonder, does this mean something for Godwin? Is this terrible for Godwin? Does that mean that, are you? I haven't seen it. Are you sure there wasn't a trade or something?
This is the yearly WTF pick. This is like the Zach Charbonnet pick, right? Like where you're just like, what? Look, here's my thing though. If the Bucks were concerned about Chris Godwin, then why re-sign Chris Godwin?
Well, yeah, exactly. I think I don't get it. I don't get it. That makes absolutely zero sense. Which, by the way, besides the fact you didn't need a receiver whatsoever, your defense sucked last year. You needed a defensive player. Maybe there's a trade, but who's getting traded? They're not trading Mike Evans. And why? How are they going to trade Godwin after extending him and then he's coming off an injury? What are they trading him for? That doesn't make sense.
Yeah,
either.
this is crazy.
Okay, McMillan, maybe. But what are you getting for McMillan that makes it worth putting your first round pick into a receiver? What are you getting realistically for McMillan right here, right now? A fourth round pick at best?
Right. And that's, I mean, you're really, if you're drafting a wide receiver, I mean, unless you already have a trade, like maybe unless they already have a trade behind the scenes in the works. And they're like, okay, we're about to trade Chris Godwin or Jalen McMillan or something, so let's replace them. Like, you can't just draft a wide receiver in the hopes that you can trade one of your other wide receivers. This isn't like fantasy where teams are like, I'm going to draft 3 QBs and then use one as trade bait later on in the year. You know what I mean? Wow. I think this is now my most shocking pick of the draft. I just did not see any way the Bucks were going wide receiver.
Hands down.
I can only assume that this is just one of those picks where, like, he was so high on their board and they're like, he's fallen to us here. We have to take him. He's just too high on our board.
It doesn't matter. Like, it shouldn't matter. He shouldn't be on your board. But you don't need a receiver. Why are you even looking at receivers? That's like the last thing you need. That makes no sense. That would be, like the Chiefs going like, well, I mean, sure, we could use some help with defense, but this quarterback, I mean, we just had to take him. You never know when you need the quarterback. It's like, it makes no sense. It makes no sense here. Then the thing is, if there's a trade in the works, which very well, maybe Godwin is on his way to the Patriots or some other team, the Raiders. They're like, okay, look, we're going to do this. But this is usually made after a trade is announced. You know what I mean? Like, it was already a done deal. You don't pick a player and they say, okay, hey, yeah, now let's see if you want to still take that wide receiver. It's like there's got to be a trade, but the way this has played out, I can't imagine that there's already a trade in place. And you don't take a player and then hope that you can trade away somebody else. That's just pretty stupid.
Yeah, this has got to be terrible for Jalen McMillan. This is great. I mean, I don't know how it could get better for Baker Mayfield, but it somehow has gotten better for Baker Mayfield because this guy just has a treasure trove of pass catchers in this offense. Oh, and the defense is going to continue to be horrendous. At least, there's still more picks to be had in this draft, but the defense is probably going to continue to be bad. So that means having to throw the ball a lot, just like we saw last year. So I think this is great for Baker Mayfield. But this has got to be terrible for McMillan.
Yeah. Terrible for McMillan. Not good for Chris Godwin. I mean, what are they going to do? The run and shoot? It'd be like the Oilers with Warren Moon and 4 wideouts just lined up.
Hey,
everybody go deep.
You know what? 4 wideouts, Bucky Irving in the backfield. Let's go. Let's do it. Spread them out. Yeah, I can only assume, they just felt like he was just the highest player on their board, and they just went with him over team need, obviously.
Yeah, so look, all I'll say about that is I understand best player available, mindset, but you can't tell me that this receiver, Igbuka, was like head and shoulders above every other player that was available, like every other player. There wasn't like, okay, well, someone's kind of close and maybe we should not take the receiver. Come on, how high can you be on the guy? He wasn't even guaranteed to be a first-round pick.
Well, they're obviously very high on him. And I will say, I mean, I feel like they have one of the best GMs. So it's like,
yeah, that's what's weird too.
I want to give him the benefit of the doubt, but man, I don't. And look, I remember, last year the shocking pick was, of course, Michael Penix Jr. after they had just signed Kirk Cousins, and it ended up working out for the Falcons. Maybe Chris Godwin won't be ready to start the season. Maybe he'll re-injure it, and it'll end up working out for the Bucs. But this just seems like a crazy pick when you need so much help on defense.
This, well, that's the thing here. This is a good way to put it. They should be a team and, coming off a playoff, appearance. They should be in win now mode. And this is not a win now move. Exactly. That's exactly right. Why are you looking ahead to next year and after that when you should be trying to win now, when you could be winning now by helping your defense? The offense is fine. The offense was great. The offense is not a question. Why are you not helping your defense? And, if we take a defensive player, that doesn't help us down the road. It just makes no sense. It makes no sense.
Yeah, I think what's funny is all right, well, the Broncos do not get us excited. They go with cornerback Jahdae Barron, Texas. So our first cornerback off the board.
Wow.
So
where's the
right?
Where's that Price is Right thing?
Yeah. But the Bucs beat writers I follow were all saying like, oh man, like, a dream scenario for the Bucs, like these corners have fallen to them, these edge rushers have fallen to them. And then of course they go wide receiver, and now they're saying like, they can get corners and, edges on Friday. It's like, oh, okay. Like, you don't have to like, it's okay to like, question things about your franchise there. Yeah. It's okay.
Man. So the Broncos don't go offense, and the Bucs do.
I did not see that coming.
And again, just to make sure, I believe you, but just refreshing to make sure these teams didn't do like a pick swap.
Right? Maybe that's what's going to happen now. Now they're going to trade with each other.
Yeah. Oh, by the way, we got the order wrong.
Because it makes more sense for the Bucs to have gone corner. And I actually think, even though I don't know if like Igbuka, like he would honestly made sense with the Broncos.
Yeah,
perfect compliment to Sutton.
That those last 2 picks would make total sense if the teams were switched.
And yeah, Keith is right. That Broncos secondary is you might not want to start any wide receivers against the Broncos next year. It was already
Right.
elite.
Well, I don't hate the Broncos pick. You know, like, yeah, they need a running back clearly, and they could use another receiver, but they can get that in round 2. Like I said, I don't think there's a receiver jumps off the page that needs to be taken here in the first round. Now that Buka's gone, and they can wait till round 2. I don't think it's a bad idea to wait till round 2 to get their running back. So I think the Broncos are fine. I mean, I don't think cornerback was their biggest need, but that's not a bad idea. They got a good value. So the Broncos move is not what we wanted, but it's actually not a bad pick. There's no way to sugarcoat the Buccaneers made a really stupid pick. It's not a smart pick. It's not.
And what's crazy, right? Like, and this is why, we would get questions on our streams like, oh, in my rookie drafts, should I take, Tyler Warren at 4, or should I take, McMillan here or Buka here? Well, the top 2 wide receivers, and most people had the top 2 wide receivers, have both landed in pretty bad spots for year 1. And as I said earlier, if you are on the stream, you're going to tell yourself, in your head, you're going to say, well, it's dynasty, it's a long-term game. But go back to last year at this time, and how has Marvin Harrison's value changed? How has Brian Thomas Jr.'s value changed? Ladd McConkey's values changed. Bucky Irving. I was getting Bucky Irving in like round 2 of my rookie drafts. Now that guy would be a top 5 pick. If we redrafted last year's rookies, he'd be a top 5 pick. Like,
Definitely.
What they do in year 1 is going to have a massive impact on their long-term value. And unless Chris Godwin is set to miss significant time, which maybe he is. Look, we don't know. Maybe we go into training camp, preseason, and it sounds like he's far away. All right, then Egbuka has a chance in year 1. But Godwin is healthy. Evans is healthy. Like, what is really Egbuka's upside in year 1?
Not a lot. Not a lot. It just doesn't make sense. I know. So it's like, okay, Godwin coming into this year will be limited, right? He's not going to be full go necessarily. So you're like, okay, we need help. You don't need help because you were fine last year. And then after this year, Evans could be gone, right? Evans might be a free agent. But why not maximize Evans this year? And then you have Godwin next year with McMillan as your 2/3. You could have drafted a receiver next year if you thought, well, these guys aren't going to be around in 2026. So draft a receiver in 2026. How about that? I don't know. I don't get it.
And we have another semi-shocker, I guess. The Steelers did not take Shadur Sanders. They don't take any QB. They take defensive tackle Derek Harmon of Oregon.
Wow. I didn't expect, but I thought, man, Sanders might not get drafted tonight at all.
I mean, he might not. Who needs a QB now? We know the Chargers aren't. We know the Packers aren't. Maybe the Vikings, Texans aren't. Maybe the Rams, if they are thinking about life after Stafford. The Ravens aren't. The Lions probably aren't. The Commanders definitely aren't. The Bills aren't. The Chiefs aren't, and the Eagles aren't. So he might not go in round 1.
It would take a team moving up to get him. That's what it would take.
Which is possible, right? You could have like a team like the Giants or the Browns, move up with one of those, those teams like the Commanders, the Bills, the Chiefs, the Eagles, who don't really, need to make a pick.
Man. Yeah, that's the word on the street is the attitude, the entitlement, and I mean, we weren't there for the interviews he had with the teams. Obviously, he rubbed some teams the wrong way. I can't imagine that he totally turned off every single GM and coach he met with. Was his attitude really that bad? I mean, if it is, then okay, this makes sense. But
and not only that, Mike Tomlin drafted George Pickens.
Right.
Like, Mike Tomlin's not scared of the attitudes.
Right. That's why I thought it made sense. I figured he might fall. I thought this was the perfect match, but apparently not. Oh, now there's a name I've not heard in a long time. Ryan Leaf. Well, Ryan Leaf was still drafted high though. Ryan Leaf leafed himself out of the league after he was drafted.
Yeah, Ryan Leaf. Not only that, Ryan Leaf was the number 2 pick.
Yeah. Ryan Leaf.
Well, okay. It's been an interesting first round. I'm also starting to get worried. Like, maybe you're right. I mean, I guess the Chargers could go running back now, but they signed Najee, so
we got Najee.
Packers probably not. Vikings probably not. Texans probably not. Rams probably not. Ravens almost certainly not. Lions definitely not. I mean, Commanders could, but I doubt it. Bills probably not. Chiefs probably not. I mean, Eagles obviously not. So we may not see another running back either.
Oh, now I think it's again pretty obvious no running backs going if Denver didn't. All these teams are looking and saying why should we take this guy in the first round when we can wait till the second, get somebody close. I thought Hampton might go, but again, that's what I was also thinking, is I don't feel like he's either here or Henderson or any of these running backs are clearly above the rest after Giante. I thought one running back in round 1, maybe 2. It's looking like it's definitely just one. Oh, Aaron. I'm sorry, Keith. I'm not gonna put the Aaron Rodgers discussion up on the screen.
I mean, there could be some more surprises. I did not think Igbuka would be a Buccaneer.
Well, yeah, there definitely could be more surprises, but the only surprise would be, I think, if we do see another trade. Hey, you never know. Like you said, what if we see a team like the Rams be like, hey, we need our future quarterback? It's possible.
And I do think we could see some trades into the first round, because we're getting to those teams, not quite there yet. But we're getting to those teams that, again, like the Ravens, the Lions, the Commanders, the Bills, the Chiefs, the Eagles, they don't have, I mean, they do have needs. They certainly have needs, but if you're trading back, 4 or 5 picks into the early second round, you can probably fill your need and get more picks.
Exactly. Well, I don't know any more if there are any more skill players going to get taken, but as we wait for the Chargers, who are still on the clock. Not the initial shock is worn off. Okay, so Igbuka, let's assume no trade. Evans, Godwin, Igbuka, McMillan. So what exactly would Igbuka's fantasy value be in year 1? Forget dynasty. I'm just talking, does he have redraft value?
If Godwin is healthy?
Yeah. I mean, assuming Godwin plays most of the season. Maybe he's not 100% week 1, but he's probably going to play. I mean, I would think he's going to be ready pretty close to week 1.
He'll probably have some moments similar to McMillan last year, but I don't think he'll be a week in, week out, like, contributor. You know what I mean? I don't think he'll just be like a guy you just set and forget in your lineup. I certainly think, I mean, if Godwin and Evans are both healthy, you're talking about 250 to 275 targets between them. Like, what's left for the rest of the team, right? Like, maybe 200 more targets for the rest of the team, maybe less than 200 targets for the rest of the team. I mean, They probably will have to throw a lot because the defense is still bad. But so, I mean, you still throw to the tight ends, you still throw to the running backs, you still have McMillan and Egbuka. Like, I mean, you're talking maybe 70, 80 targets for Egbuka. Not great. Not great. Not like, not somebody that's like completely unstartable in fantasy, but one of those guys that's probably going to be very volatile.
Still worth drafting, just late.
Yeah, I mean, in best ball, sure, because of course you don't have to worry about that volatility.
Yeah.
In redraft, it's a little tougher. And the thing is, here's what I've noticed: when players like Egbuka, who have been propped up all offseason, all the hype, right? Like number two wide receiver, even when they land in a bad spot, it doesn't make much of a dent on their ADP because people just are so stuck in that mindset, right? They're so stuck in that mindset that, like, he's the number 2 wide receiver. So I doubt we even really see his ADP fall.
A lot of people will look and say, that's a great passing offense. Put up big numbers. So I could see that too. I'm not going to say I'm completely hands off, not touching him at all. In a redraft league, he's going to be an afterthought, almost an afterthought. It's just a shame. It's just really a shame. You know what I thought would have been nice for Egbuka is if he fell on day 2 to like the Patriots. That would have been perfect.
Yeah, I mean, Bucks, legitimately one of the worst spots.
Targets matter. Target share matters. Thank you. By the way, I appreciate it.
You know what it kind of reminds me of, actually, a lot? Jackson Smith and Jigba, when he was drafted by Seattle, when they had DK Metcalf and Tyler Lockett was still a good, productive wide receiver. And even though he went to Seattle, people still sold themselves on JSN that year. And he had he wasn't a bust year 1, but he certainly was not great year 1. And it took Tyler Lockett falling off a cliff and DK Metcalf, I don't know, getting hurt or whatever, and JSN finally started to explode. So that's what this situation reminds me of. Like, unless Chris Godwin, is not healthy, or Mike Evans just completely falls off the cliff this year, which I guess is possible. Although he didn't show any signs of that last year. Like, this just doesn't feel good for Egbuka.
That's actually almost a perfect comp around where, JSN was taken a little earlier, sure. And I think wasn't he the first receiver taken in that draft class?
Yes, he was.
But still, 20th overall compared to right here. I mean, the Bucks still, for some reason, 19th overall. So what did JSN do in year 1? And mind you, DK Metcalf is a good receiver, but I wouldn't say he's Mike Evans. And Tyler Lockett, even in 2023, was not Chris Godwin, right? JSN had 628 yards on 63 catches and 4 touchdowns. I think that's pretty fair. What do you expect? Maybe even best case for Egbuka. I'm not drafting that. Why am I drafting that?
Right. It's one of those guys that, like, he'll do nothing week 1, probably do nothing week 2, maybe do nothing week 3, and then in week 4, 100 yards and a touchdown, and everybody will be like, this is it. And then in week 5, he'll do nothing again. And then week 6, he'll do nothing again, and he'll get dropped back down to the waivers. And then maybe like week 7, week 8, boom, he'll pop off with like 70 yards and a touchdown. This is it. He'll be one of those guys, right? He'll probably be one of those type of guys.
And I don't even want to say better in best ball because he's not going to be great in best ball. And I think he'll be overdrafted in best ball based on expectations.
Whoa, are we ready for another shocker?
I don't know if I can handle it.
Just signed Najee Harris. Have drafted Omari and Hampton.
The Chargers.
Oh,
what? No.
The Chargers.
Well,
this is beyond interesting. this is going to be a tough one. Like Ibuka is easy, right? It's like if all the wide receivers are healthy, he's probably going to disappoint in year one. This is tougher because
you can just basically tear up all the Najee shares I have in my big boards. No, he'll still have value. He'll still have value. It's not.
Yeah, but now the question becomes. Oh, now the question becomes, because I would have liked it better if Hampton went to say like the Bengals. And it's like, okay, Hampton probably the first and second down back, the goal line back with he'll get some catches, and Chase Brown, the change of pace, third down back. That's just using that as an example. There's other offenses. I'm not saying that the Bengals were the best fit for Omari and Hampton because it's not. But I'm saying, like, at least if you went to a team like that, where it's like, okay, Hampton clearly will be the lead back, get the bulk of the carries. I think Hampton is better than Najee Harris. But I don't think Najee Harris is so bad that Hampton is going to make Najee Harris irrelevant.
Right.
So now we probably just have both of them getting handcuffed by each other.
Yeah, I mean, okay, so as far as this, which I now have to try to figure out how I feel because I did not see the Chargers taking a running back, any running back, in round one. It makes sense to take another running back. We know what Harbaugh wants to do. He wants to win with his defense and his run game, right? He doesn't want to have to throw the ball 40 plus times if he doesn't have to. And they did a pretty good job of it, even without really having a dependable running game half of the season, because Dobbins was great for the first few games. And then he, came down to earth and then he got hurt. So the Chargers needed another running back. Right. That's I don't dispute that. I didn't think they needed one this early, but this shows me they're going to commit more to running the ball, period. And I think Najee still has probably comparable value to what he had in Pittsburgh because he's on a better offense now and he's still going to get the ball in short yardage situations. And Hampton will now be the pass catching back. He's going to be like Jalen Warren, So I think this is, I guess that's a lazy comp, but, situationally, we know that that's probably how it's going to break down. Maybe all right, well, to start the season, it's probably going to be like 70-30 Najee. And then as it goes on, maybe we see it even out.
Could we see a Bucky Irving, Rashad White type of thing where
I thought that too, yeah.
Where Hampton is just so much better than Najee Harris as the season goes on that down the stretch we see more Hampton than Najee. But even still, that's a bold bet to take, right? Like I think I'll tell you what this does for sure. Ashton Genty is miles ahead of Hampton in redraft and dynasty now.
Yes.
Miles ahead.
Absolutely.
Like there's a massive gap between them now. And if Henderson does still go to, say, Denver in round 2, I know I keep throwing out Denver. I just think it's a perfect spot. He's ahead of Hampton for sure.
Oh, definitely. Definitely.
And I think even if some of these other running backs land in good spots, they might be ahead of Hampton now. Because again, while this could be good long-term for Hampton, because what did Najee just sign? I'm pretty sure Najee just signed a 1-year deal, right? Yeah, 1-year deal. So let's say after going into next year, they say, okay, Hampton's our guy. That's great for next year. But again, if this year he's splitting with Najee, or like what we saw with Kenneth Walker and Charbonnet, which Keith brought up, although Kenneth Walker, I think, is a much better runner than Najee Harris. I don't think there's any argument there. If Najee somehow is the lead back or getting anything more than 50% of the carries, his value is going to go way down going into next year. So, this is another terrible one.
Maybe that's what it is. You're getting payback. And this one, Keith, that's actually pretty fun. Najee Harris is Ken Walker. Senior, the Charbonnet situation. Yeah, well, look, at least in that backfield, when Walker's healthy last year, he was pretty much the guy. And Charbonnet just kind of sat and watched him until late in the season when Walker wasn't that effective. And they're like, okay, let's mix it up a little bit. But they are going to run the ball more anyways this year. The difference here, though, is the Chargers have a really good quarterback still. They're going to want to run the ball a lot, but they're not going to need to run the ball, quite as much as some of those other teams that have two viable running backs. But who knows? Hampton could take over by midseason. It's very possible.
It's certainly possible. And I think because of the talent and because of the offense, like what you said, but I'll also say this, and maybe it's just the running backs they've had. But even if you go back with J.K. Dobbins, Gus Edwards back in Baltimore, they don't utilize the running backs in the receiving game. Even last year, we thought, well, Kimani Vidal catch a bunch of passes. No, they don't throw the ball to the running backs. I don't know if that's by design or if they don't trust their running backs to catch passes. I will say Hampton, he's certainly not the best pass-catching running back in this class, but he's a good enough pass-catching running back. He can catch passes, but this is not an offense where I look at it and say, oh, he could catch 50-plus passes. No, I don't think either of these guys are getting 50-plus catches. So now you need one of these guys, whoever you're betting on, to pull away from the other one, like what we saw with Bucky Irving last year. And if he doesn't, whether you're betting on, whether you're I'm betting on Hampton or I'm betting on Najee, one of the guy you're betting on has to pull away from the other guy, because Rachaad White still had value last year because he was still catching a bunch of passes. So even though Bucky Irving was running for a bunch of yards, Rachaad White was still catching 4, 5, 6 passes a game, still giving you that value. That's not going to happen with these guys. So we need one of these guys to pull away from the other. That's it. Otherwise, they're just going to cap each other's ceiling.
Yeah, that's the thing. If this were a situation where it's Najee's the early down back, Hampton's the passing down back, and you can count on that floor for receptions, that could make them both simultaneously valuable. Like Najee Harris, Jalen Warren sometimes, and whatever, certain situations. But like you said, this offense doesn't lend itself to that. Hampton isn't necessarily that guy in that role. So it's just it's a little weird. I mean, I understand they needed another running back, a young running back, but not in round one.
Well, and now we just had a receiver go to the Packers, so they did it. Matthew Golden, and I can't say I love this. I guess it's okay.
Packers finally take a receiver in the first round.
But now they have Jaden Reed, who is a slot wide receiver. They have Romeo Doubs, who is kind of I guess a possession flanker receiver. They have Deontavian Wicks, who I guess can be their outside wide receiver, because Christian Watson, who's supposed to be their outside wide receiver, has a torn ACL. And now they have Matthew Golden, who's another guy who's, a slot flanker type wide receiver. So now I just feel again, they just have a bunch of the same guys. They have another wide receiver room of just the same guys.
Yeah. Yeah, this wasn't a need.
I like Matthew Golden. I think he's really good. And I think again, he'll have some big games in this offense because he does have that vertical aspect to his game, right? There will be some weeks where he gets behind the defense and makes a big play, but Keith, the Packers have 5 wide receiver twos. They kind of do. They just have a bunch of wide receiver twos. just have a bunch of wide receiver twos.
Yeah, that's funny. It's true. Like, oh, you wait all this time to take a wide receiver in the first round, and then this is it. I mean, look, he's obviously one of the top wide receiver prospects in this draft class, but he's not T-Mac.
Yeah.
All right, Brian, I get it. He wants to make sure that everyone knows that he traded Najee Harris to me this offseason. So you're welcome. You're welcome. Did not go into that thinking. I mean, the Chargers are going to draft a running back in the first round. So, yeah, this goes back to actually the Texans, who I thought would draft a wide receiver in round 2, but now it's like, who do they get? Because I don't know. I don't know if it's going to be anyone super impactful in year 1.
This is a good tweet by Field Yates. Matthew Golden has the shortest commute to his new team in draft history, because Lambeau Field is just across the street from the green room. So he doesn't even he just walks across the street.
Go set up your locker right now.
Exactly.
Yes.
So we thought, it's funny because we thought, like, okay, maybe the Broncos will go offense and then we won't really see another running back or anything. And instead, what we've seen is craziness. We've just seen craziness.
Yeah, it was pretty bland up until the Bucks threw everything off.
All right, Vikings go guard Donovan Jackson. So no surprise there.
Well, what does it mean for Jaden Reed? I guess specifically Christian Watson, we're not going to see for a while, if ever. Dontavian Wicks, do we even care about Dontavian Wicks anymore?
I think it just means more of the same. Just volatility. More volatility. It's going to be frustrating. It's going to be frustrating to have Packers wide receivers. I want to say, because I'm a fan of Golden, I want to say he can separate, but I feel like that's coming more from my heart than my head. My head says he probably won't separate, at least not enough to where, again, you feel confident putting him in your lineup every single week. He'll be like, kind of like how, I mean, I know Jaden Reed was really bad a lot of weeks last year, but like, he'll be one of those wide receivers. You put him into your lineup. You know there's a chance. There's a chance he could go off this week, but you also know he could kill you.
Better in best ball.
Yes, and that's a good point. 410 Braxton saying, like, all the Packers did last season was feed Jacobs. Yeah, it was a Josh Jacobs show. Why is that going to change?
Yeah, well, that's a good point. Who is all right? Dustin wondering who's the next best receiver left in the draft. I mean, Luther Burden, I would think would be the next to go, but not necessarily. You think anybody goes before him?
I mean, again, well, now the Chargers already picked. I don't know. I don't know if I think he's kind of consensus the next best in the class, but I don't think he's my next favorite in the class. I mean, we're at the point here where, like, I like Jalen Noel. If you watch my video, I like Jack Besh, but we're not going to see Jack Besh in round 1. No. I like Troy Horton, but we're not going to see him in round 1. Yeah, it's just at the point now where now I feel like Now the wide receivers here, they all have warts, right? Like it's like, yeah, they can do this, but they also struggle at this. All right, well, we just had a trade. Sorry, Dustin. The Giants have just traded up with the Rams. Are we gonna finally see Shador
or Jackson Dart?
Or Jackson Dart? Why not?
I mean, look, that would shock me at this point. They just take him over Shador because nobody seems to want Shador, and they seem to settle.
Yeah, I guess all those reports about no team wanting him are true.
Yeah, well, and the Rams, we had said earlier, looking ahead, the only team that could even realistically consider a quarterback the rest of the way were the Rams. And I didn't think that they would, but I like that. That's a good one. Seems like a dart throw.
Nice. Well done.
Well played, Dustin.
Well played. I mean, you got to think they're trading up for a QB.
Well, I mean, what else would they possibly?
Although I will say, it is the Giants.
Yeah. Good point. It doesn't need to make sense.
Okay, but now after the Giants trade for 25, the Texans trade for 25. So the Giants trade up for 25. What?
Okay.
No.
That can't be right.
No, that can't be right. Well, this is what Mike Garofalo is saying. Texans trade 25 for the Giants in exchange for 34.99 and third rounder in 2026. Wait, what? What's going on here? What is going on?
Oh, so I see the Giants are on the clock. So they traded up with the Texans, not the Rams.
Oh, okay. Yeah. All right. So the Texans were on the clock here. All right. Okay.
Yes.
All right. So they traded their second rounder, of course, and their third rounder and a future. This has to be a quarterback. You don't trade all that for the best edge rusher or the best O lineman here.
Yeah. For a running back. So, I mean, here it is. Honestly, it's now a question. I think it's a legit question. Are they going to take Sanders or are they going to take Dart?
They are taking Jackson Dart.
That's it. Knew it. They traded up to get Jackson Dart. They
trade up for the next
into the first round over a bunch of teams that weren't going to take Jackson Dart. These teams were not.
No.
There's no way. The Rams come on. The Ravens, the Lions, the Commanders, the Bills, the Chiefs, the Eagles. You're telling me they had to trade up because they were so worried that one of those teams was going to get Jackson Dart.
They trade up for their new Daniel Jones.
That is so Giants. That is so New York Giants.
Wow. So we really are not going to see Shador tonight.
Oh, now we're definitely not going to see Shador. I mean, maybe the Rams. Well, you know what? No. What other team would do that other than the Giants to trade up to get a player that no other team was going to draft?
I mean, the Browns? The Browns?
Yeah, maybe the Browns. Not that you couldn't wait till tomorrow. No, they have not. Now, this is not as hilarious as Daniel Jones because Daniel Jones was taken, what was he, like 11th, 12th overall or whatever he was?
I thought he was like 5th. I remember that draft. I remember going like, what?
5th? No, there's no way.
He was taken
6th? Wow. You're right. He was 6th. Holy crap.
Yeah, I remember. Yes, I remember us covering that draft and just being floored. Just being floored when they took him.
All right. Now this wins the night, which, by the way, thank you again, Alpha, for the super chat earlier. Appreciate it. That is that is legitimately my favorite movie of all time. I'm not even kidding.
He goes the other leg.
3 darts is too
so dumb but so funny. Okay, so the Giants are going to roll into next season. I mean, I guess at this point we just hope somehow Jameis Winston is a starter.
Right. Who among you will be the first to make the three-headed dragon meme, but with all of them the derby face? And then Jackson Dart,
Exactly.
Davis Winston, and Russell Wilson. That's what it is.
Oh man.
Oh boy. It's funny. I think it's legitimately funny. You're a Commanders fan. You've got to appreciate it.
Yes. Yes.
Oh, Giants never stop being entertaining. Okay.
This is the same team that basically gifted the Eagles the Super Bowl, by the way. So go ahead. We don't need Saquon Barkley. We need Daniel Jones.
Need more quarterbacks. That's what we need.
Man.
Oh man. It's too early. I'm already thinking. We're trying to decide what the worst pick of the draft was. I can't say for sure it was Jackson Dart because at least they needed a quarterback somehow, and I don't know. Ibuka might take the cake for me, but let's wait and see. What's up, Joe? The new Daniel Jones. Honestly, I don't think Dart can be worse than Daniel Jones. I don't.
No. He can't. It's just, I don't understand. Like you said, I don't understand moving up unless they were worried somebody else was going to jump ahead of them. Oh, interesting. The Falcons have just traded up with the Rams. So now the Falcons are on the clock at 26.
Falcons. I mean, I don't know what the Falcons could want or need here. I mean, I know what they need. They still need more defensive line help. I know they already took an edge rusher. They need another one. I don't know what else. They're clearly not trading up for a quarterback.
No, I wouldn't think so.
Or I would think a wide receiver. Or a running back. So this is probably going to be a boring.
Although, after last year, would it even be shocking if they take Shedeur here? I mean, they took Michael Penix last year after signing Cousins. That big deal.
That would legitimately be hilarious.
I still think the worst pick to me, as much as I like Colston Loveland, is taking Colston Loveland at pick 10. And I want to give the Bears and Ryan Poles and Ben Johnson credit. But man, Loveland at 10? Like, I like Loveland. But at 10? At 10?
Neither Hugh or Warren would have been available in day 2. So they're like, we want a tight end. We want a tight end. Okay, if that's your thing, fine. I think it's early. They prioritized tight end over running back or over defense. You know what? I'm okay with it. But I'm sure so you think that was the worst pick?
I do. I think that was the worst pick. I just don't.
Wow. And you had Loveland as the number 1 tight end.
Yeah, but he's still just a tight end. He's just a tight end. Like,
true.
You know what I mean? Like, I feel like you're like, you look at the Bears and you're a franchise. You're close. You're a lot closer than I think people realize. Like, if you can get Caleb Williams to look like the number 1 pick, and that offensive line can just give him some protection, and you improve that defense, you are ready to contend. Colston Loveland doesn't help you in any of that, except maybe give Caleb Williams one more weapon but really, like, I don't know. I just don't get that pick at 10. At 10, I feel like the Bears, like, there were still good O linemen, still good edge rushers on the board that could have helped them, get over that hump this year, and they took Colston Loveland. That, to me, Now, I will say, when the Lions took Sam Laporta so early, I thought that was a dumb pick too, and it ended up looking okay. So maybe this will end up looking okay. But I don't know. Like, man, you already got DJ Moore and Rome Odunze. Cole Kmet's good enough. Like,
yeah.
Get him some help in the running game. That running game was awful last year. Like, when the defense doesn't have to worry about the run game, they can just pin their ears back and come after the quarterback.
It definitely wasn't a need. And yes, running back would have made more sense. Definitely agree with that. But I will say I'm okay. I mean, it was early, no question. Very early for a tight end. Who, yes, that's a very good point. The hate is real, but
it's not even that. Not even the hate. They literally took my tight end one in this class. They literally took the guy I think is the top tight end in the class. So it's not that I hate the player they picked. I'm just like,
hate the position.
At 10, you have this team in front of you. This team that really does not have that many holes when you look at it. It really doesn't. And you're like, well, let's just get a tight end that really wasn't even really a need or wasn't even an issue for our team anyways. And let's ignore all the holes we have. Again, we're talking about a top 10 pick. If it was like they took Colson Loveland, pick 15, pick 20, I'd be fine with it. Talking about a top 10 pick, you still can get an elite edge rusher, an elite offensive tackle to protect your quarterback.
Yeah.
And they got a tight end. Let's be real. Even if he's as good as Sam Laporta, no one, like, if Sam Laporta goes down with an injury, nobody's like, well, there goes the Lions' chances. They're done this year. Lions aren't winning anything now. There goes Sam Laporta. Like, come on.
I mean, look, very, very true. You know what's crazy is think about Brock Bowers. I mean, he was like the unicorn, right? Like, this guy's the best tight end since Kyle Pitts. But he was taken 13th. We saw Loveland go top 10. So, yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
Mad early.
I think that, to me, that's the worst pick. It's like, because you had a chance.
Yeah.
To really,
I will say this. It was early, but I do like the fact that they are doing everything to try to make the offense click, because you got Ben Johnson, he's the offensive guy, but also they need to set up Caleb Williams for success right away. So they did something on offense at least. And you got to remember, the way it stands in round 2, I see that the Bears pick 7th and 9th. They have 2 early day 2 picks, and look at the running backs that are still left that they could get. So I'm okay with, I think it would have been smart to take a running back if they wanted one there, and though Genty was gone. So because Genty was gone, I do think I'm okay with that pick, because it's an offensive pick and it still makes sense. It's just crazy early for a tight end who isn't like a Brock Bowers type.
Right. And again, I'm not saying that they had to go running back there. Again,
right.
Take one of the top edge rushers, because, I mean, you had, by the way, the Falcons traded up for defensive tackle James Pierce, which seems strange, but okay. Like, I feel like
that's a good pick.
You could have just waited. You could have taken Mykel Williams at 10. You could have taken Tyler Booker, offensive lineman, at 10. Kenneth Grant, right? All these, there still were stud edge and offensive linemen on the board. And then you could have, if you like, you still could have gotten your running back in round 2, another offensive lineman, another defensive lineman, or Mason Taylor, Fannin Jr., whatever. Like, I don't know.
Yeah, I get it. Well, it's early, but I don't hate the pick. I think to me, it's a Igbuka. It's just stupid. It doesn't make any sense. It's literally the last position out of the entire roster that they needed was that. It just did not make sense. You can't talk me into highest on our draft board. Well, then your draft board is wrong, because you shouldn't have a receiver on it anyways. That's not what you need in day 1. It just makes no sense. So I think, to me, they're gonna regret it. And it's not like Igbuka was a slam dunk surefire. I mean, you're gonna tell me they had him as the number 1 receiver in this class, maybe number 2 behind McMillan? Okay, fine. That doesn't still make him a surefire top 20 overall pick. And you have so many other needs. It was just boneheaded. And the Giants thing was worse as far as the trade. It was stupid that they traded up when they didn't need to for a guy that they've talked themselves into. But they still need a young quarterback.
Well, I think the Falcons might have topped the Giants in stupidity because they traded up for the pick number 26, and they also got a third-round pick. They gave up their second-round pick, number 46, a first-round pick next year, and the 7th-round pick of this year's draft to take James Pierce Jr.
Just to move up for a guy who, again, these teams, they fall so much in love with a certain player, and they forget about the rest of the roster. It's like
they traded next year's first-round pick.
Okay. Okay, Falcons.
Wow.
I mean, this is the same team. I mean, I guess we can't look back on the Penix pick and say that was a bad pick when they had Cousins. It actually turned out to work out in their favor, except the fact that they still paid, a boatload of money to Kirk Cousins for nothing. But
I mean, I will say they're definitely addressing the need, which is offensive line and getting pressure. I mean, defensive line and getting pressure on the quarterback. But
right, but
you're trading. Why are you trading next year's first? Why are you trading a 2026 first?
But see that goes to my point is, yeah, you're giving up too much. It's like the Giants. You didn't need to do that. You're just basically giving away draft picks for nothing to chase a guy that you think is your savior. But that filled an obvious need, and the Falcons now have 2 high-end young pass rushers that will help them right away.
True.
And Emeka Egbuka doesn't do anything for the Buccaneers this year. Like, that doesn't move the needle in any way. And that's why I think it's such a stupid pick. Because
that's how I feel about Loveland. Like, even if Loveland is the best, Loveland is the best rookie tight end this year, I don't feel like it moves the needle for the Bears.
No, it could help them. I mean, surely you get another pass catcher. At least he plays a different position than the wide receiver they already have.
True, but I don't feel like I don't think we're going to look back and be like, man, good thing they took Loveland at 10. That is what got him over the hump. That's what I'm saying. Like, you could have gotten Mykel Williams. You could have gotten Booker, an elite edge, an elite offensive lineman. And then still gotten a tight end if you even need a tight end.
Yeah. Look, they certainly did not need a tight end because Cole Kmet is fine, but also you could have taken a tight end in round 3 or 4, and then make him into your receiving tight end. Got Elijah Arroyo from the U, Mason Taylor, whoever.
Right.
So I get that.
All right. Yeah. Ravens back to the draft. Ravens go safety. Malachi Starks from Georgia.
Smart pick, reasonable pick. No dumb trades.
Right. No dumb trades. No ridiculousness. Just a nice, reasonable pick. I don't know if I like that. Give us something crazy to talk about.
All right. Well, here come the teams that certainly shouldn't do anything shocking. The teams that were in the conference championships. And the Lions, got to think defense, but you never know. Think got to take a pass rusher. Maybe the Falcons were worried that the Lions would have taken Pierce, which doesn't justify giving up a first-round pick, but still, that's probably why they did it, because that's the need for Detroit.
I have no problem with the Falcons trading up into the first round. Teams do it all the time. The Giants just did it. But the Giants gave up their second-round pick and their third-round pick this year.
Right.
They didn't give up their first-round pick next year. That's ridiculous.
Yeah, too much. So trying to even see if there's any point. My mock draft is officially shot to hell, which is pretty typical. If they go defense, I have them taking Donovan Ezeruku. That's who I had. Did he already go?
No.
No, it was Donovan Jackson. Okay. So we'll see. We'll see if I actually get that one. Or they could go, I don't think Scourton has been taken yet. Maybe he goes. But we'll see. All right, we got 1, 2, 5 more picks.
5 more picks.
All right, let's flip it here. Best pick so far the first round.
Best pick
besides Cam Ward.
Yeah, besides Cam Ward, of course. I mean, are we only talking about for fantasy or just overall?
We got time. Let's do both. Let's start with fantasy.
Yeah, not a lot of good landing spots for fantasy. I guess I would have to say, I guess you got to say Ashton Genty to the Raiders. I mean, you know, he's probably going to get 300 touches this year. Not a lot of great landing spots for fantasy.
No, actually, not really any at all. I think it has to be Genty. Don't love McMillan spots. I think it's okay, but yeah, I really don't like any of the landing spots for any of the other players.
Yeah, and then I'll say best pick overall. I mean, I might say Mason Graham to the Browns, but I also again, not picking on the Bears, but man, I just think Michael Williams fall into the 49ers when it was an obvious need for the 49ers, and these teams ahead of them just getting nutty, doing crazy stuff like taking McMillan, taking Loveland, and just allowing Williams to fall to the 49ers.
Agree. I think for real life, the smartest pick that didn't wind up needing to sacrifice future draft picks. Well, I will say Williams for 49ers, like you said, the Falcons' first pick, Jalen Walker, getting a good pass rusher.
Yep.
And I will actually just go back, and I know it's very obvious, it's pretty easy to nail your top 3 pick. But the Giants actually being smart and taking the best player and the defensive player, Abdul Carter, at the Giants, who could be a game changer on defense. And then they messed it up by trading up for Jackson Dart later. That's right. Can't wait. Cannot wait to see how this all plays out.
And don't forget, tomorrow, that's where we're going to start to see way more fantasy relevant players.
Oh, yeah.
Tomorrow we're going to get way more running backs. Maybe not wide receiver. We'll get more wide receivers drafted. That's what we're going to really see.
Yeah, and I mean, we did wind up getting Hampton drafted, but again, didn't think more than that as far as running backs would be off the board. I'm waiting to see, Travion Henderson, Caleb Johnson, where those guys land. This is before the trade. I don't know where they are now, but Cleveland, I thought maybe Cleveland winds up taking a running back. Nick Chubb is no longer a thing, so officially. So I feel like
Cleveland. So I think Caleb Johnson to the Browns. I would be in on Caleb Johnson. I'm on the fence with Caleb Johnson right now. I do feel like he has to land in the right scheme, but I feel like that Browns running scheme is perfect for him.
Yeah, I mean, I think my comp was, Kenneth Walker, but he is also maybe sort of Chubb-like. And I don't mean by the fact that his knee is, looks like like shredded beef. But I mean, like his running style, the breakaway speed, not necessarily a pass catching running back. I think that would be a decent spot. You got Joe Flacco handing the ball off to you. What could go wrong?
All right. The Lions take defensive tackle Tyleek Williams.
Okay. Went defensive line, no shock. Now the Commanders. Do they get crazy? Take a running
I would
back,
honestly
probably.
like to see Commanders trade back if they can.
They could. All right, let's get to this. This is a fair question, which, we'd always talk about players getting traded, and there was a lot of rumors that these are some guys that, teams don't have to necessarily keep on board. Maybe they'll flip. George Pickens, Travis Etienne, certain players maybe would be on the move on draft day. Do you think that happens? Anybody of note?
Yeah, I don't know. I thought maybe we'd see some vets get traded tonight, but doesn't look like that's going to happen. So I don't know. I know some people were saying like Pickens, Cousins was another one people thought were for sure getting traded, and maybe they still will.
All right, Commanders still on the clock. In Lucero, are you asking who the Broncos took, or are you just jumping on here? Broncos did not take an offensive player. The Broncos went with a corner. I guess the best cornerback available, Jahdae Barron.
The only cornerback drafted. We've only had one corner, one safety.
Yeah, it's funny, almost kind of like quarterbacks. With corners, you feel like it's a lot of that. It's like all or nothing in a given draft class. Sometimes they go way high and it's like a big crop of talented corners, and sometimes they're like, we can wait. I feel like that happened a couple of years ago. I think wasn't there a season where like there wasn't any corner taken in the first round, or maybe the very end of the first?
I'm sure it's happened before, yes.
So I gotta go look. It's rare, but yeah.
I'm trying to look. So if you were, obviously. Right. Ashton Genty, number one. I think he's in a tier by himself.
It's got to be.
I think Cam Ward has to be 2. Probably in a tier by himself as well, which I didn't think would be the case.
Don't sleep on Cam. Don't sleep.
I usually thought at least one of the running backs. I thought it would be like Genty and then one of the running backs and then Cam Ward. But I think I got to put Cam Ward 2. And then it's a mess.
Yeah, wide receivers. It's going to be disappointing this year.
I mean, I think I would have Travis Hunter, Matthew Golden, and Tet. Don't call me Tet. McMillan. Probably in that next tier. Maybe Hampton in that tier with them. Maybe. Probably. And then I would probably have like Egbuka, Loveland in the next tier, and then Warren, and and I might even have Dart in his own tier, and then Warren like dead last.
Does Dart even need a tier?
Well,
does he deserve a tier?
I mean, if you're thinking about it, like we're talking about like, dynasty.
Yeah.
He's got a chance to be. He's got a very good chance to be the starting quarterback, and he does have Malik Neighbors and Brian Daboll. And it's not like he's a bum.
No, I don't think he's going to be a complete bust or anything. I would probably just giving more of a hard time because it's the Giants, and it's just shocking. It's just like nobody else was going to draft Jackson Dart in the first round. But okay, whatever. It comes down to how much confidence you really have in Brian Daboll here. And let's say finally he gets a chance to have his quarterback and develop a quarterback, right? He doesn't have to deal with Daniel Jones anymore, whatever they were dealing with last year. You know what? Fine. Let's see it. Let's see what you can do with your guy. But here's the thing is he's gonna take probably all year to develop. This is why they got Winston and Russ, and this is a guy who's not going to just step in early in the season and just light it up. He's not that type of prospect. And
all right, I'll put Dart and Warren in the same tier, the last tier right now. Of course, these are only the guys that have been drafted. This will change tomorrow, but so I think Genty's got to be in his own tier. I think Cam Ward's got to be in his own tier. He's tier 2, but I think he's it right now.
Agree.
Then I think you got Hunter, Golden, McMillan, and Hampton. This is kind of the tier of guys that they could be great, but they could be bad, right? I feel like it can go either way. Then I've got Egbuka and Loveland, although maybe Loveland, I don't know if I could put Loveland in that tier. Yeah, Egbuka and Loveland, because I do feel like Egbuka, I don't think he should be down there with Dart and Warren.
No. I mean, I'll even put him above those guys. But to the receivers who have yet to be drafted, who could go somewhat early, day 2, you got Luther Burden, who's kind of a polarizing prospect. Trey Harris might be the next receiver taken. Guys like Noel and Higgins from Iowa State. I mean, I don't know if any of them really have a chance to jump Egbuka just because I'm not sold necessarily. Like Trey Harris might be the one if he lands in a really good spot. Okay, maybe I'll put him over Egbuka, but it's just not a great class.
No, I think after tomorrow we're going to see a lot more running backs up there.
Yes. And that's kind of it because there's no more quarterbacks to think about. It's probably no tight end really worth considering after maybe Arroyo, who knows where he gets drafted, so okay, so your team took an offensive lineman to protect JD. That's good.
Yep, nothing wrong with that.
Smart pick. And can't forget Andre is a Bills fan. Buffalo on the clock.
Why do I feel like Buffalo is going to do something crazy here?
How crazy could they get? What, a receiver?
Yeah.
But I mean, again, I go back.
They need a wide receiver. They do. Why? Let's just draft Luther Bird and just again have a bunch of wide receiver 2s. Another team with a bunch of wide receiver 2s.
Yeah.
I mean, that's kind of how the Bills are, right? Like, they don't have a wide receiver 1. Ever since Diggs, they don't have a wide receiver 1. I mean, Khalil Shakir, I guess, was technically their wide receiver 1, but he's not a wide receiver 1. Let's be real.
Yeah, Josh Allen doesn't need a wide receiver 1. He's his own wide receiver 1.
It's true.
Well, maybe they could do something to mix it up. I think they could still use some help in the secondary, but
they can. They definitely can, but I just have this feeling they're going to do something crazy.
Yeah, I think it's the logical pick is corner because there are some who have fallen. The interesting pick, which is still a need, would be receiver, but I can't imagine who would warrant still a first round pick other than Burden. We'll see. Okay, so we got Bills and then the Super Bowl teams.
After trading up for Jackson Dart, Giants coach Brian Dable makes clear in his press conference Russell Wilson will be the starting QB. Why? Why even say that? Like you haven't even seen this guy throw yet.
I mean, like you got to know taking him, he's not ready to be a starter week 1, no matter how he looks in the summer.
I mean, it might be more about how Russell Wilson looks than how Jackson Dart looks.
Hey, you know what? I'm going to give Russ a little credit. He was better last year than I expected. He was serviceable.
He was serviceable until he wasn't. Which were like the most important games of the season.
Hey, he was in an Arthur Smith offense, and he had George Pickens and a bunch of guys.
Well, that is true.
Well, now he's going to have Malik Neighbors and a bunch of guys. Not much has changed, I guess.
Yeah. All right, Bills pick is in. Do it. Do something crazy, Bills. Come on. We need one more bout of craziness tonight.
Mm-hmm. I've got them. Well, actually, I didn't mock a corner to them. I think they need a corner, but I put an edge player. Could never have too many edge rushers. The Bills.
That is true. Ask the Falcons. Just ask the Falcons.
Yeah. Bills take Jalen Milroe. Probably not.
Jalen Milroe. That would then be the worst pick in the first round.
Hands down. Punter. But punter might be worse.
Oh, the Eagles trade up one spot over the Chiefs. Why? Who can the Eagles be eyeing here that they were worried the Chiefs would take?
It's interesting.
That is interesting.
Okay. What did the Bills do?
Bills they haven't announced a pick yet.
It says it's in, but
it's in, but they haven't announced it. This draft is going too fast for the NFL tonight.
Yeah.
All right, they didn't do anything crazy. They did take corner Maxwell Hairston out of Kentucky. So
Smart.
They didn't go crazy. But now the question is, why did the Eagles feel the need to trade up one spot?
Yeah, that is odd. I mean, I'm not sure what. Obviously, they don't need anything, but I'm not sure what they're wanting here, who they're eyeing. Let's see. Well, they did lose Milton Williams, or a guy who's a beast in the Super Bowl. He's gone. So
yeah, they definitely did lose some guys. So this is okay. So they traded number 32 and 164 for 31. So okay,
they can afford it.
Yeah, like they didn't trade a future first.
Yeah, that's smart. I don't know who would do that. Let's see who is out there. Actually, know who I thought would be drafted a lot higher. Has Mike Green been drafted yet? He hasn't, has he?
He is not.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of people thought he'd be a top 10 pick potentially. He's still out there. Maybe they take him.
Yeah, so the Eagles had 4 fifth-round picks, so they traded one of their fifths. I think they'll be okay.
Yeah. Oh, they'll recover. So I think we can pretty safely say Shedeur Sanders is not a first-round pick.
Not unless the Eagles traded up for him, which might be the weirdest pick of the night. He's not going in the first round.
Or if somebody trades to move up to 32 to make sure that tomorrow he doesn't get taken, although the Titans have their quarterback, the Giants have their guy, a quarterback. I mean, where does he go? That's the question. Where does he go now? Who takes him? Someone's taking him at some point. He can't be that entitled. He still can play quarterback.
The Browns have picked 33 and 36 tomorrow. Like, I'd be surprised if one of those picks is not Shedeur.
It would make sense. You got to think. So maybe that's the move. The Browns. If it's not the Browns,
I mean, if it's not the Browns, then who? Like, I mean, the Raiders at 37. If they want to, like, maybe the Saints. If somehow he falls to them at 40, the Jets at 42.
Well, that's what I'm thinking. If the Browns pass,
I mean, the Browns would have to pass twice, though.
Right.
Literally, like, actually 3 times because they passed on him today and twice tomorrow.
But yeah. Well, who knows? Maybe they'll deny him 3 times, and then either you're in or you're out on him, right?
The Steelers don't even have a second-round pick, so by them passing on him today, they were basically saying we're out. Unless they're willing to trade up for him.
Some teams are apparently just out on him. And if they already were out, it doesn't matter what pick they have. They're just going to say, who cares? Let somebody else have him. So maybe he does fall to the Saints, you think. But apparently the Saints, again, chose not to draft him and were out on him. So what would make them go in on him? Well, maybe because, like, okay, it's the second round. Why not? It's possible.
Not as big of a risk. All right, Eagles go with linebacker. Jihad Campbell out of Alabama. All right, I don't think the Chiefs were going to take him, but whatever.
Maybe they like throwing him a bone. They felt bad after the Super Bowl. They're like, all right, we'll give you a 5th. Like, come on.
All right, here we go. Last pick of the night. Unless we get a trade. Well, it's the last pick of the night either way, I guess.
All right. Well, day 2 will definitely still bring a lot of excitement for fantasy because we're going to see some more running backs and receivers go, and I guess we're still on Shedeur watch. Chiefs on the clock. All right. I don't think it matters who they take.
Unless they do something crazy, like when they picked Clyde Edwards-Helaire. Remember that? Remember that year? Where they had pick 32, and they took Clyde Edwards-Helaire, and nobody could believe it. The last pick of the night.
We were all excited. Pat Mahomes was all happy. Got his guy.
Oh, my God. CEH going to be a beast. It's the Chiefs.
Dude, never again. Never. Traps the CH. And so tomorrow it starts an hour early, right?
Starts an hour earlier, yes.
So before this draft wraps up, and I think most of y'all are still on here. Some people are logging out. Anthony, we'll see you later. Andrea, glad y'all hang out with us. So we will still be live for the drafts. If you're not sure when we're on, well, you should know it's right when the draft starts. But turn notifications on if you are new and you don't have them on for some reason. And we're going to break it all down, of course. there's going to be more craziness that happens. There's always unexpected picks.
Oh,
I really
tomorrow's gonna
thought
be
today would be a more straightforward kind of draft, and it was mostly for the first half, and then it kind of just all unraveled.
Tomorrow's going to be even crazier because, like I said, we're going to see way more running backs, wide receivers, some tight ends, maybe a quarterback or two.
I would think at least one quarterback. But man,
yeah, at least one, you would think.
Who knows? Is there anybody else that you can think of that didn't get drafted that you were kind of surprised by? Like I said, I keep saying Mike Green to me, thought he would go.
I mean, not really. I didn't think. Like, I thought maybe we'd see another wide receiver. I thought maybe we'd see another running back, but it wasn't like guarantee. I did not think we'd see 2 tight ends. Obviously, I thought Shedeur was still going to go first round. I was like, there's no way all these teams are going to pass on Shedeur. But here we are. They all passed on him.
Either he really did bomb that badly in his interviews and his attitude is that bad. I mean, maybe it's true. Or, and you can't say this isn't a thing. It's totally a thing. Well, they get together and they're like, we're not taking this guy run one. Like the owners and the GM, they conspire and they're like, we're gonna drive down his draft stock. It happens. It happens in free agency sometimes. It happens more in baseball because baseball is just generally more corrupt. But, it happens. They talk amongst themselves. They don't want to get into a point where they feel like guys come into the league entitled and can dictate where they get drafted, because Dion is like, hey, these are the teams that he wants to go to. Go ahead and act accordingly. They don't – guys who have lots of money like the owners, they don't like being told what to do.
I hear on that, but I feel like there's guys like Mike Tomlin, other guys that would be like, nah, if he's going to help my team, I'm going to take him. I don't care. You know what I mean? So
yeah, well, Tomlin would, but the GM and the owner have to be on board. That's the problem.
Yeah, but they're on board with Tomlin.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, maybe teams just really did turn teams off, or maybe, like you said, teams just don't want to deal with that Dion experience.
Yeah. It's just got to be something to it. Yeah, it's surprising for sure. Very surprising. Pick is in.
I'm guessing boring.
Successor to Pat Mahomes.
I think it's got to be offensive line.
Tyler Shuck.
Oh, I mean, going over Shedeur would be something.
Then there's a crazy conspiracy. Like, there's no doubt. There's just no doubt.
Pretty sure. Sorry. Pretty sure Chiefs are going O-line here. That was definitely the weakness.
Yeah, they do. They definitely need O-line.
That O-line got exposed in the Super Bowl for sure.
Mm-hmm. What, Jawan Taylor and his perpetual false starts.
Yeah. It's crazy. They could call a false start like every snap on him if they wanted to.
Yeah, and they should. But yeah, the O-line was, got embarrassed basically in the Super Bowl.
Yep. It definitely did.
Okay, let's.
They really need this thing to go 4 hours, so they're trying to milk it.
10-minute commercial break until they.
Right,
and then they got to ride the bikes
hold on,
back.
we need everybody to come out on bikes again before this last pick.
They'll have somebody come announce the pick on like on a unicycle or something. Okay, I'm going to call my shot just because we're waiting. Josh Simmons.
All right.
Josh Simmons.
Like that pick. You got it. Josh Simmons.
Oh, really?
Offensive lineman.
All right. Well, that was honestly a lucky guess.
All right. There we go.
It is done for one day.
For one day.
We'll be back tomorrow with day 2 action and more reaction. And of course, as soon as it's all said and done, after the weekends, a lot of instant reaction. So thank you guys for joining us. Go stretch, get yourself a beverage if you haven't already been doing so. That's what I'm going to do. And we'll see y'all tomorrow.